our agenda is actually, as I told you, how to prepare for the AWS Certified Security Specialty certification. Okay. So before I go to this particular certification level topic, I'll just tell you something which is very basics. That is, for preparing for this AWS certification, it is always suggested that you have at least uh, the level of knowledge which is onto the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner or AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate. You don't have the certification is not mandatory, but still you must have the very fundamental knowledge of AWS. Okay, that's a very basics. So first of all, before I start this, I'll tell you why this certification is very important. Okay, before I start this, I'll tell you why the certification is very important. See, when we talk about cloud, so I hope you all know what is cloud and everything like that. So basically, as I told you, when you say the word cloud, you're moving all things, like you're moving your complete infrastructure, moving your complete servers, network, and all the things in the infrastructure completely to a cloud provider, right? That's what we do. So basically, when we do it like that, the first concern which we have is the availability. We have a lot of concerns like that. So one of the most important concerns which we have is the availability. And after that, once this availability is actually addressed, the next factor which most people consider is the security. So basically, security, when you move to a cloud provider, you're completely transferring your file. You may be transferring your files, or you can transfer your servers, your databases, all the things which is there in the company premises or owned by you to a cloud provider like Amazon or Azure or any other cloud providers. So, Manu, can you just turn off your screen? Actually, I'm getting okay. So basically, as I told you, when we talk about this, the first concern which we have is the availability, and then the second concern which we have is the security. So why this certification is nowadays very important? Because see, almost all the companies are basically nowadays moving to cloud. All the companies or all the people nowadays are actually moving to cloud. So when we move to cloud, all the companies concern they have is actually about the security. Okay, the complete concern every company is having about the security. So what happens is, there must be proper professionals to address these concerns. Okay, there must be proper professionals and practitioners to address this concern. That's why the certification is nowadays more in demand. Okay, the certification just came some 3 to 4 years back, and that time they cancelled it. Again, they presented it in the last year. So now this is one of the most hottest certifications which you have in this industry now. And in the certification, you will learn how to secure the AWS infrastructure and how we can actually deploy our servers, how we can manage the users, how we can control the complete infrastructure securely using this AWS tools and technologies. Okay, that's what we'll learn. Okay, team, if you have any doubts, you can just unmute and ask. Okay, no problem on that. So the next one is the first factor which we have to consider in the security perspective actually is the CIA. So these are the three factors which we consider when we talk about the security, which is actually we call it as a CIA triad or CIA model. CIA stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay, so these are the three main factors which we consider when we talk about the security actually. So, team, what do you mean by confidentiality? What do you mean by confidentiality, team? What do you mean by confidentiality? So confidentiality is like, for example, if I say, what happens if you lose confidentiality? Tell me what happens if you lose confidentiality? If you lose confidentiality, you have a lot of, for example, if I say you have a lot of files, you have a lot of data in your company, and if you lose that files, if you lose the confidentiality of the particular content, you have a loss of privacy. That means that if you have unauthorized access to the information, that can cause a lot of trouble. It can actually, people can steal your data, look into your data, and it can give you the complete loss of privacy. And also the next factor is integrity, right? So for integrity means, for example, if I say, if I am sending a mail to you, so if somebody in between is actually taking that mail and modifying that mail and forwarding it to you, that means that that information you are getting from that email is no longer reliable or accurate. And the last factor is availability. See, availability means, for example, if I say, when I access the website, if that website is actually not available for me, that can be the downtime, right? For example, if I say, if I am accessing my servers for working during the business hours, and if the servers is not available, that means that it can be said as the server is unavailable, right? So like this, we have to consider the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability as well when we move to cloud. Okay, so confidentiality, which is defined as the limited access to the data. So confidentiality is defined as the limited access to the data. That means that, for example, if I say, if I store some data in cloud, okay, if I store some data in cloud, I have to ensure that the data is completely confidential. So the advantage is, if the data is confidential, even the cloud provider must not also have access to this particular data. And the only solution you can have to make sure your data is completely confidential is actually the encryption. The encryption is one of the best way, or it is the most commonly used way to make sure that the data is secure on the cloud. For example, if I say you're uploading your data, it can be your servers or whatever it is, you're uploading a lot of your data to a cloud provider, and there is a chance that the cloud provider can sneak peek into your data, right? But what happens is, if you properly encrypt your data and if you properly manage the encryption, the data will be secure. Okay, so encryption is the best solution for having this confidentiality factor. Is it clear? So the next factor which we have to consider, as I told you, is the integrity. So integrity, that means that, okay, it's actually the assurance. Okay, integrity means we assure that the data is not tampered or the data is not modified. So the best way we can make sure the data is not modified is actually adding a lot of security signatures, or maybe like we do the proper logging, or we do the QA process. Likewise, we have a lot of methods to ensure the integrity. And finally, we have the availability, as I told you. So availability means the data must be available to the business users. For example, if I say you have your data hosted on the cloud provider, and for example, if we are not able to access the data in a timely manner, for example, if there is a DDoS attack occurred or something like that occurred, if we are not able to access the data, so that can lead to an unavailability, right? So these factors must be addressed when you move to cloud. And in the certification, these factors are our primary concern. In the certification called as AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate, this is basically our primary concern. So we use different tools and techniques in the AWS platform to ensure that the cloud platform is secure and up to the extent it can save your data. Is it clear? That's it. So any doubts till now, team? Team, any doubts till now? Can we continue? Is it? Yeah, fine, perfect. Perfect. Okay. So that's it. So now I'll just focus on one more area which I'll discuss, and then we will go to the certification focused areas. Okay. The first factor, the next factor which we have to discuss is actually the AAA model. Okay. So after the CIA, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the next factor which we have to consider is actually the AAA, we will say, which is actually the authentication, authorization, and accountability. So this AAA referred to authentication, authorization, and accountability. These factors are very critical for maintaining the CIA. Okay. So first of all, I'll tell you what is the authentication factor. So authentication factor means, for example, if I say, if I am logging on to my AWS account, or just so you can assume, I'm logging on to my server or my desktop, whatever it is. So basically what I do is I'll enter a username, right? I'll enter a username. So what does this username mean, team? What does this username means? So username means I claim that I am a person. Okay, I am a specific person. For example, if I say, if my username is user1, so I claim that I am user1. And how do I verify the claim? I verify the claim by entering the password, right? I verify the claim by entering the password. So once you enter the username and password, you are authenticated. Is it clear, team? Once you enter the username and password, you are authenticated. Okay, that's what you call as the authentication. And once you are authenticated as a user to your system or your AWS infrastructure or your servers, whatever it is. So next factor is what we call as the authorization. See, authorization means what all things you are allowed to do in this. For example, you log into your AWS account or you do login in servers, and what all services, what all resources, what all factors you are allowed to modify or use or work on or see. Confidentiality. That's what you call as authorization. For example, if I say I log into the username called as user1, and once I log into my AWS account, I will be allowed to use these specific services. So that is why. So when I am allowed to use that specific services, that is what we call as the authorization. So what is the service which helps us to do address this authentication, authorization, accountability team? We have a lot of other services. What is the primary service in AWS which helps us to address this authentication, authorization, and accountability team? Anyone? Perfect. The service is called as IAM, right? IAM, Identity and Access Management. The service name is called as IAM. We have a lot more services for this. I will just teach you that. But before that, the primary service which we focus on the associate level is actually the IAM, Identity and Access Management, right? But this IAM or Identity and Access Management is not only the service. We have a lot of other services like the AWS Cloud Trail, AWS Config, a lot of other services there. And all these services will combine together to give you the proper confidentiality, integrity, availability, and other security factors. Is clear? That's it. So, and the last factor in this AAA model is actually the accountability. See, accountability means, see, for example, if I say, when I log into my account, okay, I just enter my username, I enter my password, and I'm authenticated, then I go to my account and I will be able to use only specific resources, which is what we call as the authorization. And there must be a proper track, or we can say it as a log. There must be a proper traceability, or there must be a proper track or what all things you can do in this AWS account. That is what we call as accountability. Who is accountable for what? Who done this change? Who done this? Who do that? So everything must be accounted. It must be properly monitored and logged. So that is what we call as the AAA model. Okay. So team, just one question to you. Anyone other than my students. See, is it safe to have a single username and password when you log in? For example, if I say I log into my AWS account or your Gmail account or anything, you use a username and password. Is it safe? No, right? Yeah, that's it. So instead of what we can do, we have to use a factor called as multi-factor authentication. MFA we will say multi-factor authentication, or some books either show us two-factor authentication as well. So multi-factor authentication means instead of giving this username and password only, you can give a OTP, or maybe you can give a code which is generated on an application, or you can use a key file or something like that. Anything. So it gives you multiple levels of authentication. Yeah, RSA token, whatever it is. Exactly. That's what we call as multi-factor authentication. So to make sure you're properly authenticated and you're foolproof, the best method you can use is multi-factor authentication. Okay. So all these factors from the CIA to the AAA and everything must be addressed when we consider this AWS. See, that is why this certification now in demand. Okay. See, when we move to cloud, okay, when the people move to cloud, there is nothing like you have a specific role called as AWS Security Specialist or something like that. The only thing which was, okay, AWS Cloud Architect or AWS Solutions Architect, whatever it is. But now it is not like that. But now what happens is, it is not the architecting which is also the concern. There is a lot of other concerns like the monitoring, the identity management, the infra management, the code management, or maybe the database management, or you can say it as security. Likewise, we have different domains in the cloud platform. And as the AWS is the leader in this market now, AWS is the leader in this infrastructure market now, or cloud infra market now. That is why we have the certification more in demand. Okay, that's it. Team, till now you have any doubts? Any doubts till now? Others, any other doubts or any concerns or any doubts? If you have any doubts, you can unmute and ask, or you can just put it in the chat box. Okay. So before I start discussing about this certification and other factors, I have to tell you. See, for example, when we say security, so security is one of the most important concerns you have in anything, for whether it's your mobile phone, or your servers, your laptops, your network, your data center, or cloud as well. For any factors, the security can be a really important concern. So security is always a concern. Okay. So as I told you, how this can be a concern? See, for example, we are completely moving our infrastructure on premises to a cloud provider, right? So we are paying them for what we are using, and we are completely moving the infrastructure from one provider to another, right? So that means that we are actually transferring all our infra, everything, right? So security is their concern, right? See, why I give it to them? I just give everything. Like, for example, my servers, my storage, everything I am just telling the cloud provider to look into or look after. So what happens is the security can be their concern only, right? Exactly. The security is a shared responsibility. Exactly, Aditya. The security is a shared responsibility. The security is a shared responsibility. See, when you move from a cloud provider, okay, when you move from a, or when you move from an on-premises data center to a cloud provider, are you completely eliminating the risk? When you move from a on-premise infrastructure to cloud provider, are we actually eliminating the complete risk, or what we are doing? Not exactly that, but still we are actually transferring the risk. We are just transferring the risk, right? Exactly. Like you take the insurance, right? You're just transferring the risk, right? Risk cannot be completely eliminated. It's always there, right? That's it. So I'll tell you now, before we move to any cloud, see, we have a lot of factors we have to consider while choosing a cloud provider. It's not like, okay, you have to go for Amazon for everything. You have to go for Azure for everything, or Google for everything, or Oracle for everything. It's not like that. You can use any cloud provider, or you can use a combination. See, most companies, what they do is they can have AWS, or they can have Azure. They can have all of this in a combo, whatever it is. But still, we have to consider a lot of factors when you move to cloud. The first factor is we have to learn about the cloud provider. For example, if I say I have a mobile phone provider, I have a mobile service provider, MSP. So what happens is, see, assume that, so currently I am from India. So what happens is all these MSPs, all these mobile phone service providers, out of that we have one of the best provider. We say it as, okay, any best provider. So what if that best provider is not having connectivity or proper signal in my area which I operate on? There is no use, right? So like that, while choosing a cloud provider, you have to consider a lot of factors. Like, I'll just show you some factors which we have to consider. Just a second. Then I'll go to the next thing. Just a second, team. I'll just show you some factors. See, we have to consider a lot of factors when we move to cloud. Okay, that can include anything. That can include a lot of factors. For example, we can consider the security of the cloud provider, or what all security measures the cloud provider has. Okay, what all security measures the cloud provider has, or what all physical security or network security measures the provider have, what all compliance standards the provider have. For example, if I say, as per the company regulations, for example, assume that you are working in a hospital industry. So assume that if you are managing a hospital data, or if you are managing patient data, what kind of, give me some example for a certification which can help you manage the patient or hospital data. Some audit and compliance certifications on that. Healthcare data, which certification helps you to, it's HIPAA, right? It's HIPAA. Likewise, for example, if you're using this card payments and all, you have to use the PCI DSS. So likewise, so for PCI DSS and a lot of things like that. So likewise, when we move to cloud, we must make sure the cloud provider is having the proper audits and proper certifications. And one more factor we have to very much be concerned about is if the certifications are active. For example, if I say The cloud provider had this HIPAA certification or PCI certification 2 years back. It is not the qualification to move to a cloud provider. The cloud provider must have the current certifications and audit standards. Okay, so we have to consider a lot of factors on that. I'll just discuss that as well. Yeah, exactly. We have FISMA, FedRAMP, ISO, a lot of things like that, SOX, a lot of things like that. Yeah, exactly. So basically what I'm still telling you is, when we move to this cloud provider, we have to consider a lot of factors. And as I told you, the responsibility is not at all, it's completely on the cloud provider. The responsibility is always with the shared model. So the responsibility is always on a shared model. So that means that there is a lot of responsibilities for the cloud provider. Also, there is a lot of responsibilities for the cloud customer as well. So before I tell you this, I hope you all know what is the difference between the region and availability zone in AWS. If anybody don't know, please tell me in the chat box. I'll just explain that. If anybody have any doubts in this regions and availability zones concern, regions and availability zones, any concerns in this, please tell me in the chat box. I'll explain this first. Yeah, fine. Yes, I'll explain now. So see, basically team, when I say the word region, it refers to the geographic location. Yeah, exactly. So the region means, basically the region means it's a geographic location. For example, if I say North Virginia is a region, Singapore is a region, Ohio is a region, Japan is a region. So region can be a geographic location. For example, in India we have this Mumbai. So Mumbai is the name of the region. So it is the name of a geographic location that the cloud provider operates. So inside that region, you have multiple data centers. So these are actually called as the availability zones. So region means, for example, if I say this is the region. So region means it can be the geographical location. Okay, region can be the geographic location. Inside the region, we have something called as availability zones. For example, if I say this is availability zone 1, availability zone 2, availability zone 3. Likewise, we have multiple availability zones. So just a second. Yeah. So now you know what is a region, right? So region means it's a geographic location. So inside the region, we have multiple data centers. We can say it as availability zones. And one more thing, team, most people confuse that a single data center means a single availability zone. It is not like that. It can be a single data center or multiple data center. Okay. So anyway, availability zone can be a single data center or more than one data center in a cluster. Okay. So likewise, we have multiple availability zones in a region. So as per Amazon and as per this 2019 October report, they will say that they will be having minimum three availability zones in every regions. And the maximum number of zones they have is in North Virginia. They have six or seven, I think. Yeah, 6 availability zones. Okay. So always understand this, regions are completely different entities. For example, if I say there is no relation between the Mumbai region and North Virginia region, there is no connection between the Singapore and Ohio region. So likewise, regions are completely separate entities in a different administration. But inside the region, as I told you, we have something called as availability zones. This availability zones means we have a region. Inside that, the multiple data centers are we call as availability zones. That is from their survey customers. So availability zones in the region are always connected each other. Don't forget, the availability zones in the region are always connected each other. So for example, assume this is the region. So inside the region, they have an availability zone here. Is the availability zone 1, availability zone 2, availability zone 3. They can be mostly in a 100-kilometer distance. So these zones will be having connection each other. Okay, that's what we call as the availability zones. And why we want to have multiple availability zones, team? Tell me why we have. It's always good to have multiple availability zones. Anyone?
If why one AG goes down.
Yeah. Just tell me, Nikhil. Go on. Nikhil, your voice is exactly. Yeah. Okay. So we have it can be used for maintaining the business continuity process. It can be for redundancy, lot of factors, right? Exactly. It can be for lot of factors. That means that, for example, if I say, when I copy some data in one region, that data maybe, in most cases, may be replicated from one region to another. Okay, for example, it can be almost all the storage except some very few types. Almost all the data, when you store in one region, it will be replicated to multiple other zones in that same region. Why? Because to maintain the redundancy and to make sure the business continuity process is done. Is it clear? And also one more thing is there. See, basically, as I told you, regions are two separate entities. That means that if I have region 1 here and region 2 here, these two regions don't have any connection to each other. So what happens is, even if one region goes down, assume that, for example, Mumbai region or North Virginia region, if there is a flood or something like that, the region went down, that will affect that particular region only. The other regions won't be affected. That is the best part. Okay, that is the best part. And no data is copied from one region to another unless you explicitly do so. Don't forget, no data is copied from one region to another unless you explicitly do so. Is it clear? So, any doubts in this regions and zones, team? Any doubts in this regions and zones? Anything? Any doubts? If you have any doubts, you can just unmute and ask, or you can put it in the chat box. Any doubts, team? Region, zones? Perfect. Okay. Requesting all users to keep your mics on mute. Requesting all users to keep your mics on mute. Thank you. Yeah, fine, perfect. So now I'll tell you the difference between the AWS responsibility. So as I told you, the responsibility is a complete shared thing, and AWS is also having a lot of services spread across a lot of geographic locations, which we call as regions and availability zones, as I told you. So you must make sure, or you must, Hamza, yeah, I just got a concern, Hamza, is we have to choose it. No. It's not like that. It's not always like you have to choose nearest region. See, for example, we have to consider a lot of factors while choosing a region. It is not only the nearest factor. It can be the nearest one, plus it can be, for example, if I say, or not all the services are there in all the regions. For example, when you take some services, that services won't be there in some regions. So first of all, before choosing a region, you must comply with the law of your country. For example, if I say, if your country law says all your data must be processed inside your country only, so you have to choose a proper region based on that. Also, you must make sure that your data or your required services and resources are available in that particular region, and you must consider the cost as well. When the region is changed, there may be a small change in the cost as well. So you have to verify the cost as well. So likewise, we have to take some 10 plus factors before we choose the region for our requirement. And it's not a problem to take multiple regions if your company and local laws permit it. But still, choose a region according to a lot of factors. Is it clear? Is it clear? Fine. Perfect. So as I told you, you have to refer, you have to make sure you have to learn this, the difference between the what all responsibilities are there for the cloud provider and what all responsibilities are there for the cloud customer. That is the first thing you have to learn. Okay, that's it. Just a second, team. Let me see if I can open a file for you. Okay, once the session is getting over, I will share your file. That can be a really good, useful thing. Okay, for learning this. So as I told you, AWS is actually a complete cloud provider which can give you service on different levels, like it can be like anything, like for example, for IaaS type of services, PaaS type of services, or SaaS type of services. And based on the service, this service and shared model will be different. The model can be different for different purposes. See this? See, we will say it in two words. These two words we'll explain now. The first word is the responsibility of the cloud provider and the customer's responsibility when they are in the cloud. These are the two factors which we'll discuss now. The responsibilities of the cloud provider, which they have to keep in mind, and the responsibility of the customer, they have to keep in mind when they are in the cloud. Okay, These are the two factors which we have to consider. Okay. So basically, when I talk about a cloud provider, the cloud provider will give you the hardware, the compute, the storage, the database, and all the kind of services. The compute, the storage, the database, the networking, those kind of services from using different zones and different regions worldwide. But at the same time, see, for example, as I always say this, see, for example, is it mean that if you get a firewall, if you just connect a firewall to your network, I just connect a firewall to my network, and is your network safe if you just connect a firewall to your network? Why? What do you have to do after connecting a firewall? Yeah, you have to create, you have to configure the firewall properly, right? You have to create policies. You have to configure the firewall as per the company requirements, as per the most secure standard. But still, is a single firewall or is but only one firewall enough for doing all this? We must have multiple security devices like firewalls, IDS, IPS, or we must have some advanced net protection device, threat intelligent devices, other things like that. And also we must have routers which is configured properly, switches, and we must have a proper layered security. Exactly, Puneet. You must have a proper layered security. So that must be configured. So even in the cloud as well, see, moving to cloud doesn't mean that you don't have to configure all this. You have to configure all of this from the scratch. For example, if I say yeah, exactly, it's based on the cloud model with 3%. That's what I'm saying. Exactly, it's about. But still, for example, if I say some responsibilities are there for the customer always, and some responsibilities are for the cloud provider. So the rest of things are actually shared according to the model type. For example, if you are using the IaaS, the security model difference. If it is PaaS, it is different, or SaaS, it is different. Exactly, I'll explain that as well. Okay. So we must consider that there must be a factor called as multiple layers. Okay, multiple layers of security. That is very, very important. Okay. So the cloud provider will give you a lot of things, but you have to consider. Yeah, exactly. So for example, I'll just give you the same thing in this IaaS and SaaS platform. Just give me a second. Let me open the slide. We will not go to the slide only. We will actually continue with the lab as well. I just show you some demo as well. See, this is an example I just want to show with you. See, in the IaaS platform, if you consider this IaaS platform, see the backend networking, the storage, the servers, and the virtualization is the responsibility of the cloud provider. Okay, these are the responsibility of the cloud provider when we take the case of IaaS platform. At the same time, in the IaaS platform, the customer is completely responsible for managing the operating system. I just made it half blue because some providers will actually, especially providers like AWS, will actually give you the OS install. That's why. But still, the complete responsibility is OS, the database, or other middleware things, runtime like Java, Python, etc. Your data and your application, it's completely your responsibility. Okay. So let me ask you one thing. So I hope you know a word called as EC2 instances. So EC2 is a service in Amazon which helps you to. Yes, Sanjay, I'll explain that. Just give me a second. I'll explain that. Okay. Yeah, I'll just tell you that. Just wait. I'll tell you that. It is not always the responsibility of the cloud, but still I'll tell you. Okay. See, even we have a service in Amazon called as EC2. So EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. It's a service which helps you deploy servers. So for EC2, I'll just give you an option. For EC2, Amazon provides you an option called as security groups. I'm not going to in depth on the topic, but still I'll show you. So we have a thing called as security groups in this EC2. Security groups. So the security group means for each servers you create in Amazon EC2, there must be a firewall configuration. There must be a firewall configuration. Okay. So AWS gives you a proper firewall configuration for all your servers you create in Amazon EC2. So if there is an attack occurred, if there is an attack like the ARP poisoning or MAC spoofing, or like man-in-the-middle attack or something like that, who is responsible? The cloud provider or the cloud customer? Think and say. We have a security group. We have a firewall which is defined by Amazon for EC2. If there is an attack occurred, like man-in-the-middle attack or ARP poison, some other attack occurred, any attack, just please give this attack, any attack. Is it the responsibility of the cloud provider customer. Exactly. The responsibility is completely with the customer. Why? Because AWS provides you something called as the firewall configuration, which is called as security groups. But still, you are responsible. You are completely responsible for actually, configuring that as per the security standards. So, like this, in every place, there must be a proper thing which is called as a share. The responsibility must be properly shared. Is it clear? That's it. So now I'll show you all this. I'll just tell you how it works. All this. Just wait. So the next factor which we have considered PaaS service. See, in the PaaS service, I told you. See, we have your data and your application, but still they will give you the platform. I just explained this in the previous webinars actually. But still, for example, if I say I have a service in Amazon which is called as Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk. So Elastic Beanstalk means, for example, assume you are a developer. So you just want to run your code. I have a Python application running. So I will take this Python code. Okay, I just want to have a Python platform which we are actually want to host our application. So in that case, I can use a service which is called as Elastic Beanstalk. This service will give you a platform. All the underlying things like the operating system or the virtualization of servers and everything is managed by the cloud provider. You just have to take care of your data and the application you deploy from your data. So assume the same thing I asked you in this IaaS service. Who is responsible for the attacks which is happening in this particular operating system? Who is responsible? Who is responsible for the attacks happening operating? Exactly, the cloud provider. It's a cloud provider. Why it is the cloud provider? Why? Because the customer will only concern about the data. Even if the customer, when we go in depth, there is some responsibility to the customer, but still, basically, it's the responsibility of the cloud provider to keep the operating system up to date. Okay, and definitely, Sanjay, there is one more thing is there. See, the operating system is why the concern of the cloud provider is like that. They are actually updating the operating system. They must make sure the OS is updated to the latest version. They must make sure it is stabilized, it is stable. So if there is any attack occurred in the operating system level, the customer won't be having any kind of visibility in most cases. For example, if I take this same service, you don't have the visibility or you don't have the control of the operating system in below. You have the control only over your data and the application you host. Is it clear, team? And outside this till now? Is it clear? Exactly. Fine. Nikhil, you have some doubts? Okay, fine. Thank you. And the next one is we have a SaaS service. But the SaaS service is actually something which you have to be concerned about. I'll tell you why. See, what do you mean by SaaS service? For example, if I say, assume that you have a service which is called as Office 365, or you have your Gmail, you have a Gmail, you have the LinkedIn, you have ServiceNow. All these kind of things, what happens is, you're just a consumer. You consume only. For example, if I say, you go to your Gmail, you create a Google account, and then you can start using the email service. Or for example, you purchase an Office 365 subscription, or you purchase the plan, monthly or yearly plan, and based on that, you can consume it, right? Only thing you can do is, okay, you can add users, you can set the roles for the users like that, but still you don't have any visibility of this underlying infrastructure. You are consuming this application which is called as Office 365, or you're just consuming it. That is what you call as SaaS. So in this, who is responsible is the data. Who is responsible for the data team? Exactly. The customer is basically responsible for the data. That's it. Clear, team? That's it. So like this, it can vary according to the model. Okay. Like this, it can vary according to the model. That's what I'm saying. It can vary according to the model. So even if I say we have the responsibility of all of the things, it can be according to the model we have to understand, according to the service model. like IaaS or PaaS or SaaS. Okay, according to IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. It is according to the service model which we're using is actual thing. So assume that I'll just a quick question. So whose responsibility is the operating system? If we are taking the PaaS service, it's the cloud provider, right? It's the responsibility of the cloud provider, right? So when we consider the PaaS system, it's the responsibility of the customer. Sorry, the cloud provider. Sorry, my mistake. The cloud provider, the CSP we say, right? Why? Because it is actually complete. The OS there is no visibility of the OS for the consumer, right? That's it. And one more thing is, I'll just give you one more example for that. I'll tell you why I am telling all this. Just wait. So, just a second. So assume that in AWS we have a service called as RDS. I think somebody knows the service, but still is actually very common service. It's called as RDS, which is called as Relational Database Service. The service is called as Relational Database Service, RDS. So the advantage of the service is the cloud. See, what is the role of a DBA? The DBA is responsible for backing up the data, managing the data, maintaining the data, database, high availability, performance, and everything is responsible for DBA, right? But when you use your database in this RDS service, almost all the responsibilities of the DBA is managed automatically by the cloud provider. So there is no much role for the DBA. That is why we call the service as a managed DB service. We call this as a managed database service. Is it clear, team? So that's it. So now we will discuss so now you know the difference between the IaaS, PaaS and SaaS things, and now you know where the demarcation point is there for the customer and the provider. So now we will consider these two factors. The first factor which we are going to consider is the security of the cloud, or who is responsible for the security of the cloud. Just a second. Yeah. And team, any doubts in this? Any doubts till now? Do I have to explain anything again or anything like that? Do you have any doubts or any concerns? If you have any concerns, please feel free to ask. And one more thing, Sanjay, did it answer your question? Last time you asked one question, right? Yeah, fine, thank you. Hamza, tell me. See, in the SaaS thing, the cloud provider is actually completely responsible. For example, unless otherwise you are not the cloud provider is completely responsible. For example, if there is a database in Facebook, if there is a database in LinkedIn, you're not responsible, right? They are the only one who is responsible. If there is an issue from the server side, they are only responsible, right? For example, you forget your account password, and that is your responsibility. But at the same time, if there is an attack or there is a security breach in their servers or their application, it's a complete responsibility of the cloud provider. Is it clear? There is almost no customer responsibility in the SaaS platform. Perfect. So now we'll discuss the security of the cloud, or how AWS secures the infrastructure. I will share you a very interesting document for this particular topic. I'll share you that. See, this document is very critical if you want to certify with AWS Certified Security Specialty. So, as I told you, the responsibility of the cloud infrastructure, the cloud physical infrastructure, in whatever service you're using, if you're using IaaS or PaaS or SaaS or whatever it is, the responsibility of the complete hardware, the networking, the facility and everything is the responsibility of the cloud provider. Okay. The responsibility of the cloud provider includes everything, as I said, everything. That means that, for example, if I say the cloud provider is actually responsible for protecting the complete global infrastructure. Okay, all the services and everything runs on that particular global infra, right? So the cloud provider is responsible for managing the global infrastructure, and that is the first priority there must be for the AWS cloud provider or any other providers like that. And definitely there is no way, right? For example, there is no way you can go to the cloud providers data centers and verify it, right? For example, if I say I want to make sure they maintain the proper data hygiene, and I want to make sure they delete the data properly or they erase the data properly after use, or I want to make sure they follow the standards while storing up data. So for anything like this, There is no way we can go to the data center, or we can visit their data centers and see how their protection is actually done, right? So what is the best way that we can ensure they are following all this? So they have a lot of compliance standards and certifications. Okay, the Amazon and all the cloud providers, they must provide a lot of reports from the third-party auditors and other certification authorities which has visited their infrastructure and certified, or they are comply with their various security standards and regulations. Okay, that is the best way you can make sure that they are secure. You cannot directly go to the data centers of Amazon or Azure or anybody. The only way you can make sure is they will give you a lot of audit reports and third-party audit standards, compliance, etc. to make sure they cope up with all your requirements. Is it clear? That's the best way. And one thing out of the box, what is the best way to make sure that cloud provider meets all your requirements which they guaranteed you? What is the best way you can make sure that the cloud provider will give you all the service and in all the perfect manner as they promised you? Okay, for example, if I say the cloud provider will tell you that, okay, trust me, sir, I will give you service for next 1 year without any downtime. How can you verify that? Exactly, there must be a proper SLA and proper contract. That is the first factor you have to. There must be a proper SLA and proper contract. That's it, exactly. So, and talking about this AWS responsibility, they have a lot of, as I told you, they have a proper compliance program. As I told you, there's a proper compliance program they have. See, compliance program means, for example, the SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 reports, FISMA, or the PCI DSS, ISO 27001, FIPS. Likewise, they have a lot of IT standards and security standards, and based on that, they will certify all that their infra and everything is actually certified. And based on that, you can verify, or you can get to an extent that they will not, they will be meeting all your standards. Okay, that's it. And definitely, I'll just tell you something out of the box. Just a second, give me a second. Let me see if I can show you that particular file. Yeah, no, it's there. You can see this, right? See, this document link I'll share to you, no problem. See this. Just a second. Sorry. I'm not able to zoom in, that's why. No problem. Oh, it's okay if I take it. Yeah. And now clearly see it, right? See, they provide a proper document for all this. This is actually called an AWS Security White Paper. See this, AWS data centers are state-of-the-art, utilizing innovative architecture engineering approaches, and they tell us what all things they do to make their data centers secure. See this, for example, if I say they have fire detection and suppression utility, and they will tell us that how they manage it. And they have a power management and how they manage the power. See this, they have electrical power system, just fault tolerant, fully redundant, which run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even if there is a power failure or electrical failure, there is a backup facility like generators and all. Yes, any doubts, team? Yeah, got it. No problem. Fine. So don't have to worry about that as well. And they have a proper climate control, humidity control, and all that. For example, see, when you host a data center, you have to consider the environment as well. You have to consider what all factors you have to be. You must be aware of what all things you're doing where you set up the data center. So the climate and temperature will play a very important factor. You must maintain the data centers the proper temperature and proper atmospheric conditions for optimal levels. And they have a lot of things like, and this process is very, very important. Okay, this process is very, very important. See, for example, just out of the box, for example, once a storage device in the AWS data center is actually having some health issues, or there is a chance it may fail in future, they will immediately replace it. So what they will do with the older things, they will actually physically shred it. They will physically crush it into different small pieces, and they will actually completely properly remove it. Okay, that's what you call as media sanitization and all. They have a lot of standards for that as well. And even, for example, what is the way you can make sure that the storage is secure in the cloud provider team? Even if we are saying that the cloud provider is having a lot of standards like this, to they will delete the data, or they will crush the storage device and all. but still, how can you make sure that the storage is not recovered, or that is not sneak peeked by any other people? How can you make sure that? How can you make sure the data is not sneak peeked by any other people? The best way is actually encrypting your data. For example, if I encrypt my data and then upload to cloud, and the key is properly managed by me, I'll just explain key management now. Yeah, okay. So if we have proper key management now, what happens is, even if they try to copy your data, or even if they try to open your data, they will not be able to do that. Why? Because there is no key solution for them to decrypt the data. So the best way to make sure the data is secure in the cloud is using encryption. Okay, and like this, they make sure their data is their data centers are completely available always, and there is no data centers, cold data centers. Everything is hot and running. That means that if one goes down, the other will take charge, and you will not be even knowing it. And this incident response we'll discuss in details when we start the certification syllabus. Okay, so like this, we have a lot of things like this. We can go through this document. I'll share that as well. Okay, I'll share that as well. Okay, that's it. So now you know the difference between the, or what are the different security things the cloud provider is using for having the security of the cloud. Is it clear, team? That's it. So any doubts in this till now? Any doubts till now? Anything? Any doubts? Anything? Okay, fine. Any other concerns, team? Any concerns? If you can just unmute and ask, or you can put it in the chat box. Any concerns you have? Fine. That's it. Fine. Thank you. So now, as I told you, we can talk about the security in the cloud. So security in the cloud is always a concern. So as I told you, inside the cloud, the security is, or mostly in the case, is the customer. But still, it's according to the type of service which we are using. For example, if you're taking the service like PaaS or IaaS or something like that, the responsibility can vary. Okay, I'll just give an example for that. See, assume that you have a service in Amazon which is called as. So I'll give you an example here. Okay. So assume that I want to host a database. So I want to host a database which is called as MySQL. This is my requirement. I want to host a database called as MySQL. So if I host a service like that in an IaaS service, I'm trying to host a database called as MySQL in IaaS service. So who is responsible for managing the database completely, like updating the database and everything? Who is responsible for database administration? Exact. No, it's an IaaS service team. Nikhil, it's an IaaS service. See, you host a database, you install a database on the EC2 instance, and you work on that. And suddenly, if there is an issue with the database, you are completely responsible, right? Because it is an IaaS service. Exactly. At the same time, when we're using a PaaS service, assume that I'm hosting this MySQL on RDS. It's one of the most important service which we can learn in Amazon. So if you're using the RDS service, that means that we are just putting our data on the database. The rest, all the things, like for example, like the security, firewall, patching, and hardening, and everything of the database and operating system is completely of the CSP, the cloud service provider. That's it. So like this, it's according to the cloud service provider. We have to explain the difference. Okay, that's it. So now is the best part of this training. I'll just tell you that. Give me a second. You don't have to go through all this. Just wait. Just a second, team. Let me open it. So, see, these are the factors which we have to consider. Okay, these are the factors which we have to consider when we actually move to or we choose a service in Amazon. Okay, see, as a customer, I told you the responsibility can be shared, as I told you, but still, it is actually you have to consider a lot of factors when we consider this moving to cloud, like the visibility, the auditability, the controllability, the agility, the automation, the scalability. So I hope you all know what is scaling very well. So team, In this terms, you have any doubts? Any doubts in any of these terms? Any team? Any doubts, team? See, agility is a very important word. See, what do you mean by agile? It keeps on changing, right? For example, your requirement is always changing. For example, if I say every day, each and every day, your requirement can be changing. You have new concerns, new solutions, new issues, everything. So in that case, your cloud provider must be able to provide the solutions as per your changing requirements. That's where we refer to agility here. And automation means, for example, just the same service I told you the previous time, right? For example, there must be some solution to automate the task you're doing. For example, deploying the database or database backup, replication, failover, those kind of things, right? That's an automation thing. So there must be a proper solutions to automate the task like managing the storage. Or for example, if I say, if I want to move my data from one storage to another, there must be a proper automation for that. So these are the factors we have to consider. Any other doubts, team? Nikhil and Manu, is it clear till now? Perfect. Okay. So now, exactly. So now we will actually consider, we will go through the direct discussion for this particular your certification thing. Okay. We'll actually consider a certification factor as well. That's the main thing which we have to focus on this particular webinar. So I told you why the certification is very important. Why? Because nowadays this role is actually getting really hot. Why? Because we have people, we have a lot of people. Okay. See, when I started, I know, okay, we have some people for cloud, but still the problem was when we started with cloud, there was no much people to design the cloud solutions effectively like that. And now we have a lot of people for that. But for what happens is, even if there is a lot of people for deploying and designing the cloud solutions and managing the cloud solutions, there is a very lack of people who is actually proficient in managing the security concepts or security issues of the cloud. For example, when you design something or when you deploy something on the cloud provider or when you're planning to move to the cloud provider, or if there is any disaster occurs or there is any incident occurs in the cloud, there must how to mitigate the issues, how to manage the issues, or how we can actually monitor and maintain the infrastructure and how we can securely deploy things. There is a huge lack of professionals for these kind of things. So that is why AWS came with this certification. So basically they started the certification some years back. I think 2015 they started the 16 they started certification. But what the problem was, at that time the certification was not up to the standard. That's why they canceled the certification, and then again they deployed a new certification like this. And this is one of the most hotter certification which you can take in the AWS type now. It's called as the AWS Certified Security Specialty. And as I told you, for this certification, you don't have to, take any, like, there is no prerequisites. For example, previously, if you want to take the certification, the first thing you have to do is you have to pass the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate Certification. But now it is, or you have to pass the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional as well. But now you don't have to pass any of the certification. You can directly go to any certification you want. There's no prerequisite now. That's the best part. Okay, that is the best part. There is no prerequisite for any certification now. You can directly go to any certification without any kind of trouble. Just a second, I will show you the number of certifications they have now. And they are actually having 2 more certifications now. They are planning to have from February onwards AWS Certified Database Specialty, and they are planning to update this, even this Big Data Specialty. They are planning to update. They are planning to update this AWS Architect Associate. It's actually changing a lot. So, as I told you, there is no prerequisites for any certification you have to pass. There is no certification prerequisites. But if you want to learn the AWS Certified Security Specialty, you must have some knowledge, which is at least in this level, or I suggest in this level. If you have that, you can always learn this AWS Certified Security Specialty. But basically, when I teach the certificate, this certified security specialty thing, I don't say you just learn to pass the exam. That's the first thing I say. I don't want people just to pass the exam. So that is why I always tell them that. So this is not things this is not telling you to learn everything or not learn a lot of things, but still some concepts you have to learn in depth if you want to work with this AWS as a AWS certified security specialist. Okay, if you want to work in the AWS security specialist, you must understand some very critical factors, which it is not all just for this level of this certification, but a little more you have to understand. Okay, that is very easy. I'll just tell you how to do that. Okay, so till now, any doubts, team? Any concerns? Any doubts? So about the certification, you have any doubts and all? I'll explain the domains and all. Now I'll explain that. I'll show you the service as well. Any other concerns? Anything? Any team? Cost for the certification, right? Yeah. See, for the cost, regarding the certification cost, for all the AWS associate certifications, as I told you, for all the AWS associate certifications, the cost is $150 plus tax will come. So for all the professional and specialty certifications, the cost is $300. Is it clear? So for all the associate certificate, the cost is $150, and for all the professional certification, the cost is $300. But still, see, it marks up to some. If I convert to Indian rupee, it can be some 22,000, something like that. But still, if you, for example, if you pass the AWS certified associate or those kind of things, in most cases they will give you a coupon which is having 50% off on this. And team, one more thing, if you're planning to take any beta exams, yeah, it'll be $300. Exactly, that's what I'm planning to say, Sanjay. For example, if you're actually an AWS associate or something like that, they will give you 50% discount on this professional or something. Why? Because see, if you passed your AWS associate certification, and within 1 year, if you want to redeem, you can, or within 3 years, if you want to redeem, you can always redeem this coupon. It will be valid. Yeah, of course we can use for security as well. No problem on that. But one thing you have to keep in mind is, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to explain in this webinar, Abdul. I'll explain now. Just a few minutes. I'll explain all that. Okay. I'm not only focusing on the certification. I'll tell you what all security services you have to focus on day-to-day basis. Okay, that's it. That will explain now. Just a second. And for now, all the certifications, the validity is actually 3 years. It is not 2 years. It is 3 years now. Previously, it was 2 years. But now, all those AWS certifications, the validity is actually 3 years. Clear? That's it. That's the team. Now, just a second. Let me start with the domains first. So now I'll tell you for each domain how you have to, study for the exam. Okay, this is purely exam focused. And if you pass this exam now, this can be one of the most best achievements you can have. Why? Because now we have a lot of professionals which is demand for the security perspective of this cloud computing. Okay, so as per this latest standards, for the certification we have 5 domains. No. Previously it was like that, but still now that is the question, Sanjay. Sanjay is asking, like, if we clear the security specialty exam now, is it able to extend the validity of the associate certification? No. Previously it was like that. For example, if you have an associate certification and if you pass the professional or specialty, then you don't have to worry about this. But now it is not like that. Each certification will be valid only for 3 years. And for example, in my case, I have valid professional and valid security specialty, but I don't have a valid associate. Why? Because my associate expired some 1 year back. It keeps on expiring. And if you want, you can, for example, if you want, you can write it again. But there is no use of like that. Just pass it once and keep your skills updated. That's the key part. That's it. And if you're currently working in this cloud platform, for example, or this AWS security or something like that, why you must have a certification is when you go to some projects or when you work on some specific AWS cloud projects and all, their customers and people will demand that you must have the proper valid certification. That's it. And definitely, it will not give you the all the certification validity extension. Each certification is completely independent now. As I told you, right, there is no certification like, you can completely like more than 3 years. The maximum certification can is 3 years. See, previously, as I told you, when we talk about the certification, these are the you must go to step by step. So architect, then professional, then specialty. But now you can directly go to it. And as I told you, they have some newer certification which is coming. It's actually the database specialty and data analytics specialty. Just changing name as well. That's all. And one more thing, team, if you are so confident, you can write this exam now itself in the beta version. Currently, this exam is in the beta version. So if you write this exam in the beta version, that from tomorrow onwards, the certification will be active. If you write this exam in the beta version, it will be $75 only. The cost is very cheap. That's it. So now we will discuss about the different domains in this particular certification. So the first one which we will discuss is actually so we have some 5 domains as I told you. Domain 1, which is incident response. Domain 2 is logging and monitoring. Domain 3 is infra security. Domain 4 is identity and access management. And domain 5 is data protection. So in this webinar, I am planning to explain you what all things you have to study in this, what all things you must study in depth for working in AWS security areas, and what all concerns you must have as a prerequisite for it. Or it will be best if you can have the prerequisites. That's all. So that's the thing. So we'll go to the domain 1. The first domain which we have is the domain 1 is the incident response. The first domain is actually incident response. See, that is one of the most important domain which we have, which is called as the incident response. Just a second. Let me open a notepad for you. I'll just write down all that so it'll be easy for you. Just a second. So let me copy this. Sorry. So team, tell me what is an incident? What do you mean by incident response? What do you mean by incident response? Yeah, yes, Abdullah, I'll just tell you. What is the learning path of cloud security? See, for cloud security, as per I am saying it, most people ask me, why do we have to? Yeah, exactly. Just answer Abdul's query before we start. See, Abdul, you can, as I told you, you can directly write the certification. But as per the market trend, most people think that okay, you have to pass the associate first, then the professional next, then the specialty. But I don't suggest that. That can be a lot of time consuming and waste of your time. So first of all, things. The first thing you have to do is you have to pass any of the AWS associate certifications. So I suggest you pass the AWS, or you can just learn. You don't have to pass the exam, just learn. That's what I'm saying. Why? Because why do you want to have 2 certifications if you want to work in AWS security only? So you can just go for the AWS certified solutions architect associate or the systems administrator associate. The second thing is solutions architect or sysops. Then you can directly go for the security specialty. I don't suggest people go to this professional before we go to security specialty. Why? Because a lot of things we study in this professional is covered in the security specialty. So it is not required for you to go to this thing. You can directly go to the security specialty once you learn this contents. Is it clear, Abdul? Yeah, and you ask one more thing. What skills should we have as a current? Yeah, see, that's what I'm going to tell you. What all skills you have to get the cloud security. I'll just tell you that. Yeah. Okay. Girish, you can contact the team. Actually, definitely you'll get the webinar. It will be there on the YouTube. Actually, you can get the webinar information. No problem. If you have any concerns, you can just ping you on WhatsApp or LinkedIn. No problem. I'll just share the details. Okay, no problem. By then I'll share my details. You can just ping me on WhatsApp or LinkedIn. It's okay. Fine. Thank you. So we were asking about incident response, right? So I got some answers like what is an incident, if an issue occurs, how we are going to respond. Yeah, exactly. So if there is an issue occurs, how we are actually responding to that incident. That is what we call as incident response. And is this incident response a single thing? Like for example, okay, is it same for all the organizations? Is this incident response common for all the organizations? No, right? Is it common?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Is this incident response common, or the process is common for all the companies or all the businesses?
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's no. Why? Because the requirement process is common, but still the incident response process is completely different for different companies. Let me show you an example for that. See, for example, assume I'm just giving a use case example here. Uh, we may not be able to cover everything, so let's just give you some use case. Just give me a second. Let me see if I have it here with my. Just a second, team. Just a second. So this is an example. This is an example which I say. See, these are the common steps for having a proper incident response plan. See, the first thing is you must have a proper incident response plan. Okay. And in the incident response plan, you must have a proper ideas for how to prepare. For example, if I say, what is the first thing you do if you get a DDoS attack? What is the first thing you do if you get a DDoS attack? Tell me, team. And what is the DDoS attack? What is DDoS attack, team? See, DDoS attack means no. Currently, I'm experiencing DDoS attack. The first step, I'm asking about the first step. The attack is just starting. You just got attacked. You just understood that. So what do you do? Yeah, you can do blackout routing. Then, so see, the step is completely different, right? For example, for DDoS attacks, as I said, as Nikhil said, you can verify the logs as well. You can do black hole routing, and we can actually do it. We can make it a loop or something like that, or we can actually, in the cloud platform, we have a solution called as scalability. So what is the DDoS attack, team? DDoS attack means, for example, if you have a server here, if you are getting multiple requests from multiple people worldwide, multiple hackers actually, I say, they are generating malicious traffics from different locations in the world to your particular server you have. So what happens is, if all the requests are coming to this particular server, they may not be able to manage this traffic. So what you have to do is, you must have, the server may go down, or there must be some issues, right? There may be something called as unavailability. The only thing to make sure, only thing the people will do to do this DDoS attack is actually to make the server unavailable. Okay. So for that, in cloud, we have a solution called as auto scaling. So what happens is, when the attack happens, we can actually increase the number of servers, right? The server number will increase like this. So the attack will continuously spread. And you can verify the source from where the attack is coming, and you can block the attack by checking the logs and all. Okay, exactly. You can verify the logs. How you verify the logs? You must have a proper logging solution. I just explained that. So you'll verify the logs, and based on the logs, you will whitelist, or you will actually, yeah, for example, you blacklist the particular IP range. For example, if I say I'm getting a request some IP number 1, IP number 2, like multiple IP addresses, I can actually blacklist them in some service. So what happens is, the DDoS attack can immediately stop. So for that, you must have a proper logging solution. You must have a proper monitoring solution. You must know this attack happened. And even if the attack happened for next some time, at least for the next 1 hour or 2 hours, the website must not be crashing, or it must not be taking down, it must not be having some downtime. So for that, you have to configure a auto scaling. So like that, you must make sure that this is the server will be available always, even if there is a attack like DDoS attack. So you told me you have to verify the logs. Okay, you have to verify the logs for doing the if there is attack which is in the particular DDoS way. At the same time, what if the attack is exactly the auto scaling deployment is a preventive measure, Nikhil? Preventive measure means that I'm saying is, for example, when you have this auto scaling, okay, what do you want auto scaling? When the number of traffic increases, the servers will actually increase, right? The numbers for servers will increase. So exactly that's what I'm going to say. So the server will actually, what happens is, see, auto scaling is not a complete solution. It's not a complete solution. It's actually, we are spreading the attack. For example, if I'm getting a lot of traffic from one server or multiple servers to a single server, I will spreading the attack to multiple servers. So what happens is, it will not be unavailable for at least the next 2 hours, 1 or 2 hours, right? So this will buy us some time. Auto scaling will buy us some time only. It will give us some time to respond. It is not a complete remediation. If we use a auto scaling feature, it will buy us some time to respond, like verifying the log files to stop the attack, or we can use some DDoS prevention methodologies inbuilt in AWS. But still, it will buy us some time. What if there was no auto scaling? So what happens is, the attack will happen and the complete server will go down. Exactly. I don't want the server to go down. Once see, how do you know? I'll tell you the process. See, once the DDoS attack occurs, the server will simply auto scale, and you will be notified from different services that there is attack which is happening in the server. So as there is an auto scaling which is running in background, you don't have to worry about it. Why? Because as the auto scaling is running, everything is in control, right? At least that infra is still up and running. That is why we use this feature called auto scaling. It is not a remediation feature. It's just a prevention feature up to an extent. That's all. It's not a complete prevention. But verify, according to the log files, we have to view what all things we can be done, and according to the support plan which we are using from AWS, we have to verify the. Yeah, yes, Naib, I'll explain. So Naib is asking that how this auto scaling will get some time for DDoS attack. I'll just give you some examples. See, we have two words. The first one is DDoS attack. I'll explain once again, just sorry for time. The second one is auto scaling. So, see, as I told you, DOS attack or DDoS attack means what happens is, a malicious user or a hacker or attacker is generating a huge traffic to attack your server, right? For example, this is a server. You are getting a huge traffic from different locations or a single location, which is having a heavy payload. So what happens is, I'm getting huge traffic. Definitely, when I get a huge traffic, which I cannot handle, the server will go down, right? That is what you call as a DDoS attack. So the critical factor behind this DDoS attack, the main motive behind this DDoS attack, it is not to steal money or not to steal any information. The DDoS attack is basically 99% is used to make the unavailability. This is the primary requirement for DDoS attack. Okay, making the server unresponsive, making the server unavailable, making something unavailable. So how this auto scaling can buy us some time on that is, if you see, as I told you, if you configure auto scaling, I'm just drawing the same thing here. If you configure auto scaling, see, when the attack is starting, okay, some people is trying to send some packets to server. Okay, we can configure the rules for auto scaling. Okay, if there is a traffic increase more than 70% or 80%, something, I'll just set a rule. What happens is, he will add one more server. Again, if it increases, he will add one more server. Likewise, the number of servers will keep on increasing. So what happens is, this one system alone don't have to actually get all the requests. The request is actually spread to multiple servers, which we have auto scaled just now. So what happens is, even if the attacker is doing a lot of attacks, the attack is actually spread to multiple areas. It's not for a single area, right? So thereby it can buy some time until this auto scaling is exhausted. Auto scaling limit is exhausted. We have time to respond. But once this auto scaling is starting, we will get some notification that okay, there is an auto scaling happening. So you can verify what happened with auto scaling. So if you find it as a DDoS attack, you can respond it, right? Is it clear, Nayab? Perfect. Others, is it clear? Others, is it clear? Any doubts you have in this? Till now, any doubts you have? Perfect, perfect. Okay. Now we will discuss about the next factor. This is actually very, very important. I just explained. So as I told you, incident response is a very, very critical factor. For example, see in the incident response domain, I'll tell you what all service you have to study in detail. Okay. You can write this down, or you can just take a screenshot once you finish. But this is very, very important. Okay. See, basically in this incident response, you have to consider these factors. Give me some examples for an incident. I'll just give you some examples for an incident. Okay. Just a second. I'll just give you some example for an incident. For example, as I told you, it can be a DOS attack or DDoS attack. It can be, for example, you forget your security. Yeah, exactly. Credentials is published on public sources. It can be data theft, or it can be like malware attack, virus, and all these kind of things. Malware attack, like ransomware infection, something, anything. For example, okay, I'll just write this ransomware infection as a separate thing. Okay, if it's a part of malware, I'll just explain that. Ransom. Then it can be some phishing attack, whatever it is. So anything, if there is an incident happens, okay, your computer goes, for example, if there is any incident happens, okay, the first step is you have to identify that, right? Yeah, exactly. The CPU, when the DDoS attack happens, something like that, the system, the CPU can go high, memory can go high, right? So if there is an incident occurs like this, first of all, there must be some solutions to understand that this kind of thing happened, this incident happened, right? See, unless if you know the incident happened the first time, you will not be able to mitigate it, right? So there must be a proper logging and monitoring solution for that. So in this particular domain, in this particular domain, you don't have to study a lot of tools, but still some tools can be helpful for you. But still, for example, in my exam perspective, I am telling you is, just a second, I hope you can see this. If you're not able to see, please tell me, okay? So these are the areas to look into. Okay, these are the areas you have to look into when you study this domain one. This is actually very, very important. It covers almost some, I think, yeah, 12% of the curriculum. See, 12% doesn't mean it's a very small one. If you don't properly study this domain, you will be done. Why? Because most people will skip this domain. I'll tell you why. Most people will focus on other domains like logging and monitoring, domain 3, infra-security, and those kind of things. But still, I'll tell you something. This domain can give you a lot of score. This can help you score the marks. It's very, very easy. The easiest domain you have. So, see, these are the areas you have to look. Securing your credentials. So, for example, you have a lot of credentials in AWS, right? For example, you can say it as the usernames, passwords, access keys. Then you have the RSA keys. Then you have the other credentials of the instances, database, etc. Likewise, you have a lot of credentials. So you must make sure you secure all this. These are the first thing you have to learn in this domain. You must, and this is the thing which we have to learn in depth when you're working as a security person for AWS or any other cloud provider, securing your credentials. See, for example, as I told you, in AWS we can in a single account itself we can create multiple users with the service called as IAM, Identity and Access Management. For example, if I have 1,000 users in my company, I can create 1,000 user accounts in a single AWS account. I can create 1,000 user accounts in a single AWS account. And it is not easy like managing a single account or single username and password. You may have some n number of credentials in your company to manage. So there must be a proper solution to manage all your security credentials, and you must make sure that your credentials are not leaked by any people. I'll just give an example here. People, you are aware of GitHub. GitHub, you are aware of GitHub. What is GitHub, team? What is GitHub? What is GitHub? It's a distributed version control system, right? GitHub is a distributed, it's a repository, it's a distributed version control system. So what happens is, most developers will do the coding part and all, and they will actually upload the code to the GitHub or platforms like that. Exactly. But what happens is, sometimes when they upload this code and other kind of information, they may accidentally upload the username or password or any credentials which can be fatal for your company. They can accidentally upload a lot of information with this particular code they upload. So there must be a proper security mechanism to prevent that. Or yeah, exactly. Someone uploaded the Apple source code. Exactly, it happened. iOS source code. I know exactly. Like that, it can happen, right? Or for example, if I say sometimes some developers, what they do is they will host a website, and the website they will actually will not be bothered about the code, and sometimes some sensitive information of the users or something may be exposed. So you must make sure that the information in the cloud is not at all, or there is no sensitive information which is made public on the cloud as per the company's policies. That's the first thing. You must understand this first point when you're working in this cloud or this domain one you have to study. Okay. And if there is a exposure, for example, if I say if my credentials, like the username, we have access key and secret key in AWS, right? So if the access keys are compromised, if we have some compromised access keys or compromised credentials what action to take? This you have to really look into. Okay. The next factor is actually Naive, can you post it in the public one? If you post it in the private way, others can't take it actually. That's it. Thank you. So the next one is, you have to understand and assume that if one of your servers is compromised, we call it as incident instances. How we can actually stop that attack? See, for example, assume that in your company, if a particular server is having a ransomware infection, what all steps you will take, team? Assume that in your company you have a ransomware infection. What steps you will take to mitigate the attack? Think and say. I want the steps in the step-by-step manner. I don't want it like some hundreds. I just want to know what are things you can take in the step-by-step manner. If there is an attack or there's a ransomware infection in your company, what things you will take? Seriously, are you sure? I'm assume that no. I'm just asking the first step. I'm asking the first step. I'm talking about the attack which is called as the. For example, no. Your instance is compromised now. That's what I'm saying. You have your instance compromised. So what step you will take first? Exactly, Aditya. You will isolate it, right? You must isolate it, right? You not see. Okay, Nikhil told me you can terminate it. That's a good thing. But still, I'll tell you not to do that. See, if you don't, the first step if you have to do if you compromise the server in this AWS is actually, or even on-premises, you have to isolate it. You have to isolate the device from your production or your company network. Okay, exactly. No, you cannot remove it. I'll tell you why we are not supposed to delete it or terminate it. Why? Because it is not advised to remove it. See, if you remove it, There is no track of what happened, right? Unless otherwise you have a server running, or if you have a proper server with you, how can you identify what kind of attack happened, who done that? So make sure it is not termination what you have to do, or it is not deletion what you have to do. You have to isolate it. You must completely isolate the particular device from the internet and from the production and other networks as well. Okay, exactly. Then you have to understand, as you told me, you have to understand the behavior of that particular thing. What exactly infected? What is the behavior of that thing? Then based on that, prepare some rules, and once you get a solution for prepare or doing this, will you directly apply the solution? Okay, once you apply the solution, you got a fix for the ransomware, you fix the ransomware. But what you have to do afterwards, what you have to do, so okay, you get a fix for the ransomware, okay, you fix the ransomware, and will you deploy it back to that production server scenario? You must make sure how the attack happened, and you will actually take some preventive measures to prevent that attack in future as well, right? That's it. So likewise, you have to know how to manage the, no, you will shut down, you can shut down the instance, or you will change the network, we will say. Exactly. We have to do a process called, yeah, exactly, Nikhil. I'll explain that just now. So Abdul, what we'll do is isolation means I will take it from my production network or some other network, and we will move it to another network. In AWS, we call it as security groups. I will change the security groups immediately. It means that I'm isolating that from one network to a entirely different network, which is not having inside or outside access. And for Nikhil, what we do is, yeah, exactly. What we do is we do a process called as RCA, root cause analysis. So that means that how this infection happened. So it is not the big thing to mitigate the attack, but still we must do a root RCA. We must do a RCA, root cause analysis, to make sure how the attack happened and how to prevent the attack in future. Exactly. So you must know how to deal with the compromised instances. Deal with compromised. Okay. Then you have to learn. Then in this domain you have to learn some services like, we can see it as guard duty. I'll just tell you what is that. I'll show you an example on that. Then you have to, yeah, that's enough. See, what is guard duty? There is a service in AWS which is called as guard duty. You have to learn that service as well. Okay. There is a service in AWS which is called as guard duty. I'll show you that. See, I'm just taking that service. Okay. So in my console, you can see my console here. I'll take a service called as guard duty. The service is very important. See, when I click on this guard duty, what happens is this guard duty will actually verify. Okay, this guard duty is not a complete preventive measure, but still what happens is it will verify all your log files. This guard duty will verify all your log files of your network, of your systems, of your applications. It will verify all the log files and everything, and based on the log files, they will give you warnings. So based on that, you can actually, okay, we can verify what all things are happening, and if there is something suspicious, it will show it to as a warning. You can fix it and rerun the test again. That is what you call as guard duty. The service is very common. Okay, guard duty is very common service, and most people are using it. The cost is also very less. See, it will be viewed for the malicious behavior. This service will actually view for the malicious behavior to protect the AWS accounts and workloads. Is it clear? That's it. So guard duty you have to learn in depth in this particular domain. Guard duty is mandatory. Then you have to learn this critical part. This can be guarantee exam question, penetration testing in AWS. So pen testing is a critical factor you have to learn in AWS. So I don't want to do pen testing now, but still I'll tell you what are the steps you have to take before doing a penetration testing process. For example, if you want to verify if your infra is secure, you have to do the process like pen testing. For example, what is pen testing, team? Exactly. It's also there in the exam. What is pen testing? What do you mean by pen testing, team? Exactly. Pen testing will help you to identify the vulnerabilities or weaknesses, right? So when we do pen testing in AWS, we have to follow a lot of standards. You cannot directly do the pen testing, but before doing the pen testing, you must understand what all things are allowed to do pen testing in AWS, what all things are not, and you must understand what all services you have to notify Amazon before you do this pen testing. So these are the critical areas you have to focus on this. And assume that, for example, one more thing you have to learn: abuse notice. This most people will miss it, but still I'll tell you why. Because see, abuse notice means, for example, sometimes assume that, okay, we have some users like Roshan, Sanjay, and Aditya here. Roshan, Sanjay, Aditya, and Abdul. So assume that I hacked the account of Aditya. And from his instance, okay, I just hacked into Aditya's instance in AWS, and from that instance, I start attacking Nikhil, Roshan, and Abdul and Sanjay. So what happens? You will comply. You will just complain to Amazon, right? You will actually complain to Amazon, right? I'm getting a lot of attacks from this IP. Please verify. So once they verify, they will come to know that, okay, it is the IP used by Aditya. So what happens is, in that case, they will send Aditya an abuse notice. And let me see if I can show you an example for an abuse notice. If I have, I'll show it to you. Just a second. This is like what an abuse notice will look like. I'll just show you the thing. Just a second. This is an example for abuse notice. See. So you must know what all actions you have to take if you get an abuse notice like this. Okay. You must know what all actions you have to take if you want to, or if you get the issue like this. Okay. Clear, team? That's it. So these are the areas which you have to focus in this domain one. Any doubts, team? Any doubts in this till now? Any doubts you have in this domain one? These are the areas you have to focus on. This is an example I'm saying. Okay. You can take a screenshot if you want. So make sure you go through these areas really critical before you just sit for the exam. And in the job perspective, I think one person asked me what are things we have to do in the job perspective. In the job perspective, learn this 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is very much common. This also you have to understand, but this is you have to learn in depth if you want to work in this AWS security. This is mandatory. These two things are actually very critical. What happens? What things you have to do when there is an incident? According to align with the company policy, what all things you can do? Everything you must be well aware of. Is it clear, team? That's it. So any doubts in this till now, team? Domain one. Any doubts you have? Anything you want? Do you want to add or anything you want to? You have a query or something? Others? Yeah, sure, friend. I'll explain. See, guard duty is a service which analyzes your log files and all. Okay, it is a service which analyzes your log files and all, and based on that, it will detect the threat. So I'll just give an example. Here. Assume that you are getting some malicious request. Okay, some malicious request from a specific IP address. So what happens when you get a lot of malicious requests from a specific IP address? That is logged, right? So guard duty will verify the logs, and based on that, they will inform you that, okay, you're getting the multiple requests from this particular IP address. So it can be a vulnerability. It can be a flaw. Please do something. So like this, it can actually give you a lot of warnings based on priorities. Okay. So once you fix the warnings, you can just rerun the test again to make sure everything is fine. Is it clear? Guard duty is an intelligent threat detection service. It's not for mitigation. It's for threat detection. Is it clear? Afan, is it clear? Yeah, fine. Thank you. So now that is domain one. Can I erase this? Team, do you need a break? Anyone need a break? Anyone need a break? Perfect. We'll continue. It's very simple. If it's interesting, we'll definitely continue. It's actually a lot of things we have to learn. So now I think the domain one is over. Please take a screenshot if you want. These are the domain objectives which the AWS wanted to learn, and these are the areas you have to focus on when you study this. Is it clear? That's it. So now I'll tell you what all things you have to do in the domain 2. See, domain 2 is one of the most critical domains, as I told you. Because why? Because domain 2 is actually a huge one, right? It's not a simple one. Yeah, see, this domain 2 means it's logging and monitoring. See, for an infrastructure, logging and monitoring can be very critical. Okay. Can I erase this? Everyone took a screenshot? Can I remove this? Fine. So now let me copy the domain 2 actually. This domain, see, I have seen a lot of people when they study these domains, they will focus on some areas only. And one more thing, team, from this 2020 onwards, don't expect almost all the questions like a straight away. There's no questions you will get in most cases as a straight away question. You will get a lot of confusing questions. Okay, AWS and almost all the providers like Azure and everybody is actually focusing on use cases and real-time scenarios. So make sure you really understand the service, then only you will be able to answer. For example, if there is a service called as cloud formation, this guard duty and inspector, you must know the difference between these two. Most people will confuse the difference between these two services. So likewise, or some people, okay, most people don't know what is the difference between logging and monitoring sometimes. So in that case, you have to learn what is it. Then only you will be able to pass the exam. Because why? Because the exam questions is not very simple. It's not straightforward. Most questions are actually it can be a bit tricky. Okay, that's it. So for domain 2, I'll tell you, this is actually the logging and monitoring domain. So in this, you must learn the native, areas to focus. So in this, you have to learn, you're asking about a break. Afan and Roshan, you are asking about break. I just saw your message only. Any others need a break? I just saw some people actually. Aditya, you're asking for a break? Okay. See, it's like just almost 1 hour more. We can just finish this and continue, right? Sure. Thank you. Okay, fine. So that in domain 2, these are the areas you have to focus. Okay. So for domain 2, these are the areas you have to focus. See, first of all, you must know that what is the importance of logging. See, tell me, team, what is the importance of logging and monitoring? Tell me, what is the importance of logging and monitoring? Is that just for looking after infrastructure? Anything more? Why we need to have this logging and monitoring solutions? You must have a proper visibility of the infrastructure. And why you must have a proper visibility of the infrastructure? Okay, you told me you must have a proper visibility. You are doing this logging and monitoring to have a proper visibility. So what all things you can get if you get the proper visibility? Exactly, it can give you for troubleshooting. Then it can give you the insight for an incident, for compliance requirements, for expansion, for automation, for almost all the things. This logging and monitoring can be very, very critical. This is mandatory, right? So if you want to pass this exam or if you want to work in AWS security, learn the logging and monitoring concepts very well. Because see, for example, if there is attack happens or if there is any security incident happens or anything, there must be a proper track. I told you to some words, right? Which is called as this one. See, accountability. There must be a proper solution for accountability. This is very critical. So for accountability, this is actually very critical. Okay. For all, we have a lot of other factors as well, but for accountability, this is very, very critical. Don't forget. Okay. So I'll tell you what service you have to learn. The first service you have to learn is CloudWatch. See, CloudWatch is actually a monitoring solution for the AWS Cloud. See, team, can you tell me some name for the monitoring solution? This is very common, like outside the AWS. Any other monitoring solutions you know? Exactly, Splunk, Curator. Perfect, perfect, exactly. You know a lot. Perfect, 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 exactly. So, like this, if you want to get the visibility to the AWS infrastructure, the best service you can use is the CloudWatch. But CloudWatch is not only the just it is not only a monitoring solution. See, for example, when we say a monitoring solution, that means that yeah, exactly. SolarWinds would knock actually exactly. But still, when we say this this CloudWatch, CloudWatch is not only a monitoring solution. See, monitoring solution, what they basically do is they will actually just go through that particular uh, window, or for example they will just particularly go to that or that in that infra you want to monitor, and what they will do is they will just give you the report, right? For example, if I say if I want CloudWatch to monitor my EC2 servers, or if I want CloudWatch to monitor my billing, or if I want CloudWatch to monitor my database, whatever it is, so you can configure for that. But still, it is not only for actually just monitoring, you can also act. I'll give you an example for that. This you have to understand very clearly, not for the exam, but for the job perspective. One guy asked me why this is for that. See, this is not for the exam and all telling. Okay, this is this part. See, for example, I have an instance. This is my server in EC2. This is my server. I can see it as a web server. Okay, this is a web server. So what happens is, so last time we discussed the case of a DOS attack, right? So for example, assume that there is a DOS attack happening, or DDoS attack. So when this attack is happening, what will happen is, see, in this attack, in this particular attack, this web server can actually increase the network traffic. Like the network traffic of the web server will increase. For example, assume that the network traffic is reached of 90%. So immediately the CloudWatch will monitor it, and CloudWatch will can immediately notify you. We have a service in AWS called as SNS, Simple Notification Service. With the help of the service, this CloudWatch can notify you that there is a spike of 90% with the because of before this particular web server. So that is just a notification, right? You got a notification that there is 90% spike, but still there must be some immediate steps to take, right? So the CloudWatch can automatically trigger an action called as auto scaling. So the CloudWatch will automatically trigger an action called as auto scaling. So CloudWatch is not only for monitoring, it can trigger actions as well. Not all the actions, but at least some actions it can take. So if you configure that properly, CloudWatch can also take some actions as well. Is it clear? So CloudWatch is a service which we have to learn in depth, I say. And you have to learn the different terminologies in CloudWatch, like alarms you have to learn, and you have to learn the metrics. Events. Events is a key word you have to learn. Okay. I have seen a lot of questions in this events part. And this is just launched 2 days back. Just 2 days back. That's also interesting. You just go through it if you want. So that's it. Learn the CloudWatch events as well. Now that's it. That's enough. Learn the metrics, learn alarms, learn logs, learn events. That's enough in CloudWatch. The second service you have to learn. Okay, the second service you have to learn in this AWS is actually, or this particular domain is actually CloudTrail. So I'll just write it down. This is actually a monitoring service. Okay, it will monitor the AWS service and resources in real time. Okay, and this factor you have to very much careful about. And the next one is CloudTrail. CloudTrail. See, CloudTrail, unlike this CloudWatch, CloudTrail is actually a logging service. Okay, it's a logging service. Give me some example for logging tools, team. Logging tools. Okay, others? Exactly, Abdul. That's a good question. I want to answer that. See, Abdullah has asked a question like in CloudTrail, we can see only 90 days logs. Yeah, I'll explain that. Exactly, I'll explain that. Yeah, some other solutions like CloudTrail, Windows Log Manager, a lot of things like that, right? In Linux, you have this default log files and bot logs, right? Exactly. So I'll tell you the CloudTrail. See, CloudTrail is very, very important. I'll just show you an example here. So CloudTrail, just a second, let me open. See, CloudTrail is a service which is very critical for you to learn. I'll tell you why. Because assume that your company is having a proper data retention policy. Your company is having a data retention policy. That means that, for example, all the log files must be kept for 2 years or 3 years, whatever it is. So what does CloudTrail? CloudTrail does, CloudTrail will give you what all events that had occurred in your AWS account. So all the, I'll just show you an example here. I don't want to just simply explain the theory. See, you can see this particular event. I'll just open this event. So you can see that a person from this AWS region at this time, 5/31, 23/11/2019, has actually, from this source IP address, has actually created a server in AWS. And this is the user in AWS which done that. So who, what, where, when? Who done that change? Where that change occurred? Or what thing he done? Okay. So who done that? What time? From where? From which location? Yeah. But still, it can help you a lot in auditing. But still, these log files are very critical. So it will give you each and every information. It will give you each and every information about the the activity which is happening in AWS account. That means that, for example, if a person logs into AWS account, or if a person opens a bucket, or if a person opens a server, or if a person click on some services, so anything, any API calls will be logged in this CloudTrail event. But one problem there is that CloudTrail will actually keep the log for only 90 days. See this? But as per the company policy, you must keep the log files for, maybe assume that it can be 1 year or 2 year, right? So for that, you can export all these log files to an S3 storage. There is a storage in Amazon which is called as S3, which is called a simple storage service. You can always S3. You can actually export all these log files to this Amazon S3. So what happens is, if you export everything to S3, you can keep it for whatever time you want. Okay, that's it. So CloudTrail is a very critical service you have to learn. Okay, that's the second thing. CloudTrail is mandatory team. Don't miss this. This is a very critical service. So in CloudTrail, you have to learn. We can't say nothing. You have to learn everything in CloudTrail. There is nothing called as miss something in CloudTrail. Learn everything in CloudTrail. Okay. So CloudTrail is mandatory. Then the third service which most people will miss is actually the config service. AWS config. See, the config service is exactly like the CloudTrail. But what happens is, for example, assume that you are working in your AWS servers and everything is working fine. Today evening 7:30, when you left your office, everything was running fine. But next day morning, you have seen that your servers are down or there is some issue. So if you want to know what exactly happened, what change occurred in your AWS account, not talking about who done that or where done that, where it is done. I just want to know what change occurred in my AWS. The best service which you can have is the AWS config. That is why this service is actually onto this compliance and auditing part. This service is mainly used for the compliance and auditing parts. What change is done? It will track the changes. It is not logging. Understand the difference? It is not logging. It will tell you what changes occurred. Okay. Just a second. So see this. This will give you an idea of what configuration change which has occurred. At the same time, CloudTrail will tell you what all changes that occurred in the, or what all things are done in the API calls. For example, what you have done, which user has done, which application performed the action, what activity they have performed. At the same time, Config will show you, it will show you what change is happened in your AWS infra. So that is more into this auditing part. Is it clear, team? This is very, very critical. Learn the service. I have seen some at least 2 questions in the exam in this particular domain. Okay. So config is actually very, very important. Okay. Learn the service in depth. Now we have to learn a service, and it's like even if it's a part of not part of the exam, but this topic is very important. Okay, you have to learn a service called as AWS Inspector. Some service can be in multiple domains as well. Okay, so you have to learn a service called as Inspector, AWS Inspector. I'll show you that as well. So AWS Inspector is a service which is very, very useful for you. Why? Because I have seen a lot of companies nowadays using this service. So as one people asked me, these services, if you don't learn the services, you cannot work in AWS security. Why? Because CloudWatch is monitoring, CloudTrail is logging, configuration is, and AWS Infosec I'll show you now. So it will analyze the behavior. So what is this analyzing of behavior? Okay, I'll give you an example now. Assume that I have a server here. This is a university server or any office server. In a government office server, normal office server. So basically the traffic to the server is from morning some 9 a.m. to something like 7 p.m. So this is the peak hour which the server is getting the traffic. And before this 9 a.m. and after the 7 p.m. there can be 1 or 2 requests coming, that's all. But assume that one day by night 1:30, okay, you're getting a huge number of requests to this particular server. Okay, one day if you are getting a huge number of requests to this particular server, it can be suspicious, right? So this AWS Inspector will give you that alarm or notification that there is a suspect. Likewise, we can perform a lot of things. Okay, and also this service can give you a lot more. For example, if I have a server running in AWS, I can install this AWS Inspector service on that particular service, and I can assess the service for vulnerabilities. What are vulnerabilities? For example, assume that my server is having Windows Server 2019 plus Apache server. Server, right? So this service, once you install the inspector agent on your server, what happens is it will show you what all updates you are missing. If you are missing all the updates from this Windows server, or if you're using an outdated version of Apache, or if you're having multiple ports open. So like this, it can give you a lot of warning information which can hamper your compliance requirements. Okay, so this service will analyze the behavior and potential issues for your application and give you a report. Exactly, it will scan the easy to install OS. So that's the main thing. Exactly, it will show the, see how it shows the vulnerabilities. I think somebody has gone with CVE, common vulnerability database, right? Common vulnerability exposure. So this inspector will verify the report, the services based on the CVE reports and the CIS benchmarks. So based on this, I'll just show you that. Based on this, they will actually exactly see. Exactly, it's like that. I'll just give you an example service on this. Have you heard of Nessus service? Nessus. There's a tool called as Nessus for a vulnerability assessment, right? Yeah, exactly. It's like Nessus version. The only difference is, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. For example, if you want, you can run this Nessus assessment for a particular server, and based on that, you can actually verify, right? For example, if I install the Nessus agent, I can actually run the vulnerability assessment on a particular server and see what all things are there. No, even AWS Cloud Inspector or Nessus is not having its own database. They are using the databases like this, common CV or CVS or this CIS benchmarks, something like this. Source are different for different services. Okay, is it clear? That's it. So this service I have seen a lot of companies deployed, so learn this service in depth. It's a VA service. More or no, we cannot believe that's a good question, very good question. We cannot completely rely on this, but still, it can tell you the vulnerabilities. Okay, just tell me one thing. For example, you're stuck in the traffic. You're stuck in the traffic. Suddenly, an ambulance comes. Will you give it away, or you will block the ambulance? As soon as we have an ambulance coming the way, we will actually give a way to the ambulance and we will wait, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We will wait for the ambulance. We'll just wait, and we'll actually give it. Likewise, we have priorities. We have priorities. I'll just show you that. Just a second. CVE rating. See, CVE rating means someone. For example, if I say, if you have a small fever, it's okay. Fever, just okay. At the same time, if you have some serious disease, you have to address it immediately, right? So likewise, so according to the vulnerability score, assume that if the vulnerability score is actually between some 7 and 10, that means it can be high or critical. So if there is a score, if you can see a vulnerability score as 1 or 2, that can be, it's okay. You can fix it or not. It's just a warning. At the same time, if the vulnerability is above this medium range, you have to fix it as soon as possible. That's what you call as a priority. So you have to prioritize. It cannot protect, Nikhil. It is not a protection tool. It will actually analyze and give you reports. That's all. It is not a protection. It will not protect. But one thing you have to keep in mind. See, Nessus and all the other tools you have to pay initially. But for this Amazon Inspector, you don't have to pay initially. For each assessment you are running, you have to pay. Just for the assessment only you have to pay. You don't have to pay for the license of this tool. Only when you run an assessment, you have to pay. That is best. Please note that exam question. You have to pay for the service only when you run an assessment. Be a tool like Nessus. That's it. So now that's it. I think some very small topics more in this particular domain. I will finish this. See, and you can learn a service called as Trusted Advisor. See, it's actually a very small tool. You can learn it now itself if you want. You can learn this tool now itself. You don't have to wait for the complete thing. You can learn this now itself. I'll just show you an example here. See this. You take a service called as AWS Trusted Advisor. See, Trusted Advisor means this service will actually give you like suggestions or best practices. See this. On these different areas, you have different areas like cost optimization, performance, security, fault tolerance. For these kind of things, they will give you suggestions. They will give you best practices. So for example, I'll give you an example here. See this, they are saying that, okay, in my firewall, I have a firewall which is having a lot of highly critical ports unrestricted. Okay, so please make it restricted, otherwise it can cause trouble. That's why it is showing a red mark. See this. So like this, it can give you best practices for what you can do. So it can be easy, like it can give you best practices. That's what you call as this AWS Trusted Advisor. They can give you advices. They will not fix anything, but still give you advice on this billing and cost. For example, if I say you buy a mobile phone, I just want to use WhatsApp. I buy a mobile phone rupees 2 lakhs. It's not good practice, right? So likewise, it's according to the requirement. So they will give you best practice requirements for security perspective, for cost perspective, for performance perspective. They will give you best practices. Is it clear? That's it. And then you have to learn a service called as AWS Macie. Macie service this, and we'll finish this second. AWS Macie. Macie. This service is very common. Okay, this AWS Macie is a very interesting service. I told you, right? I'll just give an example. Assume that a developer actually copied. Yeah, it can reduce a lot of your costs actually. So, for example, you have a service in your AWS called as S3. Assume that I am a developer, so I have accidentally put some credentials of a database or some servers or something on this AWS storage, which is public. So if a person gets that, I'm in risk. So this AWS Macie is a very intelligent service which is based on machine learning and AI. This service is a thing which is based on machine learning and AI, which can actually protect your sensitive information. For example, if somebody tries to copy some personally identified PII information or something like that, they will give you alerts immediately. This is very, very critical. This is a comparatively new service, and this is guaranteed question for the exam. And also, when you work in a company, this service cannot be ignored. Why? Because see, if there is any sensitive information you're uploading onto the storage, some storage in Amazon, this Macie will actually intelligently detect that and actually give you the alerts and warnings. So Macie you have to learn in depth. So that's it. These are this is the most common things, and we have some more other things like that. But those are the most common services you have to learn. And for example, you can do the storage notifications, a lot of things like that. These are the common services you have to. Yeah. Tell me, Abdul. No problem. Just tell me. No problem. Put that in chat box, or you can unmute it. Whatever it is. It is a UAT with sites and VPN confidence we are using EC2. Okay. So for this, for this requirement, I guess we'll discuss this in offline, but still I'll just tell you the idea. For this, as I told you, it is not a single level of protection you have to learn. You have to use the protection like VPC flow logs, basic VPC security, NAT routing. You have to use service called as this WAF and Shield. You have to go for access control list. You have to use this CloudWatch and CloudTrail. Likewise, we have a lot of things to learn. Okay, we have to get a lot of services in combination if you want to do the same thing. Because why? Because this is not a simple thing. You're doing a lot of things, right? So at least you have to have a 3 layer of protection for this. Okay, no problem, team. By the end, I'll share my contact information. If you want to get any doubts, you can just ping me and ask. No problem. Just put in chat box. No problem. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying now. See, these are the areas you have to focus for the exam and for the job as well, for day-to-day basis. And I'm not telling you the complete AWS security specialty domain only. I'm telling you what all things you have to focus. These are areas you have to focus on. Clear, Abdul? Abdul, is it clear? Yeah, perfect. So now this is the basic, okay? So that's about domain 2. So you can take a screenshot of this. I think we have a lot more, but still these are the most common things you have to learn. That is, you cannot miss this. That's it. Okay. So I hope you have taken the screenshot. Any other doubts? Any other doubts, team? Anything else? Any other doubts you have in this till now? Just I'm doing your walkthrough. That's all. Any other doubts you have in this? Anything? Perfect. Others? Is it taking too long? You're not bored, right? Perfect. Yeah. Let me erase this. So now we'll focus on domain 3. The rest is very easy. It's nothing. Just very easy. Don't worry. We'll finish it as soon as possible. So the next is domain 3, which is actually infra security. See, this domain is actually the most compensating part. See, this domain itself is actually having the 26% of the exam. So but as Abdul asked, the job perspective, don't consider this percentage of the examination. Okay, the job perspective, please don't consider this percentage of the examination. And as my suggestion, it's not like you learn for the exam only. So for exam perspective, focus on this maximum percentage. It can give you more questions, but still, for job perspective, focus on domain 2, domain 4, and domain 5 as the first priority. Then go to domain 3 and or domain 1. That's what I'm saying. I'll just tell you why. Let me copy this.
Krishna, can you repeat the domain numbers or the names? Domain 2, domain 4, and domain 5, is it?
Yeah, domain 2, domain, I'll just tell the priority actually. So first you have to understand the domain 4 in depth, then the domain 2 in depth, then the domain 5 in depth, even if it's a small one. Then you have to focus on domain 3, then domain 1 for the job perspective, not for the exam perspective, for the job perspective. Because why? Because see, I'll tell you just let me finish this and I'll tell you. No problem. Okay. So fine, this is the domain 3, which is actually infra security. Yeah, 42513 exactly. So in this, because I have when I consult a lot of companies, I have seen this. That's why I'm selling this in this order. Okay, this is the domain 3. This is the infra security. In this particular domain, you can see that we have multiple requirements. So it's actually a very small thing. I'll just tell you why. Even if it's contributed that a lot of things in the exam, but still it's a very small thing. Areas to focus. The first thing you have to focus, the first and the most important thing in this particular domain is the only one thing, VPC. The first one is VPC. So team, tell me what is VPC? Any doubts you have? What is VPC? VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. Okay. So most people ask me, what is the difference between a public cloud on premises and the public cloud private cloud on premise and private cloud on a third-party cloud provider. See, basically, when you deploy a private cloud on a third-party provider in AWS, if I am deploying my private cloud on AWS, this is the security and network binding I have, which can isolate me from the rest of the tenants. For example, if I say, if I want to move my entire company infra to AWS Cloud Platform, the first thing I have to be very good in this is the VPC part. Why? Because VPC is the structure. Okay, VPC is structure. For example, it is a secure net. For example, if I say I'm currently in my room which is locked, that means that I am secured with my walls around me, right? So like this, VPC will give you a complete isolated network as if it is your on-premises infrastructure. VPC will give you a complete isolated network as if it is your on-premises infrastructure. So stands for Virtual Private Cloud. So in this VPC part, I want you to learn a lot of things, but still I'll focus on what of things you have to learn in the first. First of all, you must know how to set up a VPC. I have seen a lot of people study this domain and all without having the proper idea of how you have to do the same thing in a custom VPC. You must know how to set up your own VPC. Don't use Wizard. Set your VPC with your own skills in a secure way. You must know how to securely set up your VPC. The second thing you have to focus is you must know what is a concept called as AWS organization. This I'll explain in detail. See, AWS organization means, I'll just tell you something, just show an example. Yeah. So assume that Abdul, what are you asking? Web app, what is that? Anything, yeah. Even if your website or applications or database or whatever it is, you must it must be inside a VPC. Okay, so what I'm telling you, definitely when you go to a company which is using AWS, I don't say that we have to use only one account. See, in the very small company I support, they are using almost some 20 plus AWS accounts. Most companies have 20 or 30 or 50 or more than that AWS accounts. So basically, when you set up a infrastructure on cloud platform, you may use a single AWS account or multiple AWS accounts. And I don't suggest people use a single AWS account. That can cause a lot of other issues as well. So I suggest people can use multiple AWS accounts. So assume that in your company you have multiple AWS accounts. One here, sorry, AWS account 1, account 2, account 3 and all. Account 3, account 4, etc. So in this case, what happens is it is too complicated to manage this, right? For example, if I say it's too complicated to manage, for example, I have a bill generated here. I have a bill generated here. I have another bill generated here. So the accounts team have to go to every account and verify the bills, right? Also, for example, if I want to implement some controls over this particular all these cloud AWS accounts, I have to do it separately, right? But at the same time, if I'm using a concept called as AWS organizations, I can set up a master account and I can connect AWS master account. I can connect all these accounts to the AWS master account. So what I can do is I can centrally manage all these accounts like you do in the Active Directory, right? I can centrally manage all these master accounts. And for example, if I say I can see the bill and everything of all the accounts in the single console itself, I can actually restrict some actions. I can restrict it using policies and all. Exactly, isn't it? So like this, we can do a lot of things. Okay, we can do a lot of things in this. So this organization, you have to learn. Even if you will feel it like a single small easy topic. Let me give you an example for that. I just remove that, but still I didn't forget to remove my old student's account. That's why I just show you an example. You're not using it. You're not going to do anything on it, but still I'll show you that. Organizations. Just open. Yeah. See this. I have this much accounts here. This all these accounts, 1, 2, 3, all these accounts are managed by my central account. See this. So I can see their billing information. I can restrict the traffic which they can use. Likewise, I can do a lot of things when we access this AWS account. Okay. That is, it will help you to centrally manage AWS account. So this topic is very, very critical. I have seen a lot some I've seen some only 2 to 3 questions in exam for this, but still what happens is in the exam perspective, this AWS or job perspective is the service can be very critical. First, there is a critical factor that you have to manage your account centrally. So for that, this is the best service. Okay. So learn this in depth. Then you have to learn AWS. Yeah. Then the best part, Cloud CDN, CloudFront. So, team, are you aware of the service called as CloudFront, which is a CDN service? For example, I'll give you an example. Just, yeah. Assume that I have a web server. This is my web server. Hosted in India. This is the web servers in India. My domain name is something like, Krish.com. Krish.com. So what happens is, when somebody is accessing this website from India, the website will easily load, right? At the same time, if this website is accessing from the outside countries or other continents, so what will happen is the website can be too slow, or the website page may not open. It's why because the traffic cannot travel all the way. The TTL value will expire and it will actually take down the page will not be loaded easily, or it can take some time as well. But if you're using a service called as CloudFront, this service is like the Cloudflare and all. The Cloudflare, Akamai and all. Like this 2 services. So what happens is this will cache this web page. Okay, this CloudFront will cache this web page to edge locations. We call it as edge locations worldwide. Okay. For example, if I say instead of, for example, I want to go to the bank to withdraw some money. So instead of I go to the bank, my bank headquarters, I can go to nearby branches, right? For example, if I'm in Bangalore, I can go to the nearby branches in Bangalore. If I'm in some other region, I can go to the nearby branches, right? So likewise, I can go to the nearest edge location if I want to access the website, rather than going to the source websites. Is it clear? That's what we call as a CDN concept. So CloudFront is one of the best CDN services which you can get in the world now, and it is very critical to manage the security of it. So this is in the job perspective, it is not regular, it's a regular task, but still it is very, very important. Okay. So learn this. Because the exam is very important. Like you'll get at least 3 to 4 questions in this, but still in the job perspective, it's a one-time setup thing, and you can just occasionally monitor. You don't have to continuously work on it. No problem with that. And the next one is, this is the best service, I'll say, WAF and Shield. I'll make it 2 services, WAF and Shield. Oh, sorry. Sorry team, yes, I'll make it 2. Sorry, my mistake. We can use CloudWatch to monitor CloudFront as well. Any service we can monitor. And yeah, now it's fine. So this service is very, very interesting and very, very useful for you. It's called as Swap and Shield. See, can anyone tell me in which layer of the OS reference model of normal firewall is working? In which layer of the OS reference model this firewall is working? Normal firewall is working? L3 or L4, right? Layer 3 or L4, right? At the same time, we have a solution called as L7 firewall, which is called as the application layer firewall. That is very important. There is a firewall called as the application layer firewall. This particular firewall can be very, very useful. Okay, so this can protect against a lot of things like the, for example, some random IP addresses, lot of malicious things this WAF can protect. So I'll just show you an example here. WAF cannot be enabled; it's too costly for that, but still I'll show you WAF. See, I'll just click on WAF. I go to WAF. It can protect SQL injection, cross-site scripting, or any other attacks. Those kind of very common attacks this WAF can protect. For example, those common web application attacks, web server attacks, and all. This WAF can simply and one thing I already told you, team. It's not connecting the WAF. You have to configure the WAF as per the requirement. Then only you'll be able to work on it. See, you have to configure it very, very tricky. The configuration part is very tricky. You have to configure WAF very well if you want to make it secure. So in the exam perspective, you don't have to learn how the WAF is set up. Okay, that's what I'm saying. As the exam perspective, don't learn WAF. Understand the concepts. And just that is enough. When we say AWS can support all layer and solution support, is it? No, there is no limitations, but still it's according to the provider, right? So for example, if I say CloudFront is one of the best solutions than which I say a Cloudflare, or for example, Nessus is actually a solution which will help you to do the vulnerability assessment here on premises. Likewise, we have a solution for it. For example, if I say if you want to do pen testing, you have third-party solutions here. Even if you want, you can use Nessus in AWS as well. So it's according to your requirement, you can choose a third-party solution or the in-built solution. I will discuss the difference in the program actually. Okay, so this is enough. So WAF concept, is it clear, Roshan? Yeah, fine. Okay, so WAF concepts, one thing you have to keep in mind is WAF is always just understand the WAF concept. Just go to the WAF documentation, that is enough. You don't have to learn WAF like in depth and just try it. And there is a service called as Shield. It is actually DDoS protection. This is actually a very interesting service, which I said DDoS protection Shield, and the starting cost is from $10,000. Okay, almost some 3.5 lakhs INR. Okay, that is why the service is very costly, but still the service is used by a lot of companies for DDoS protection, because AWS itself have a 24/7 DDoS response team. AWS have a 24/7 365 days DDoS. Yeah, it's a monthly cost. But seriously, Nikhil, it's very cheap. Why? I'll tell you why it's cheap. Why? Because DDoS attack is one of the most fierce attack for a lot of companies. So when you use this DDoS attack to shield to manage and prevent the DDoS attacks and all, it can give you a lot of advantage. See, downtime can cost you more than that every month, right? Okay, third-party solutions. Okay, for third-party solutions in the shield level of shield service, you have to pay almost same amount. I just verified it as well. Actually, for example, if I say if I am trying to use a third-party solution for DDoS protection like the shield and all, I have to pay almost the same amount. Even some solutions can charge me more than that. Exactly, you have a basic DDoS protection by default in AWS, but if you want to have an advanced DDoS protection, which is mandatory for some critical companies, then you have to pay. That's it. Then the last but not least, WAF done, shield done. And you must really know this VPC team. VPC is not a small topic. You must really know what is VPC. Otherwise, it can it will not work. You must know this VPC very well. For example, this VPC, inside the VPC itself, you can give a lot of things. Exactly. Yeah, we have next-gen firewall service. See, this WAF and Shield is WAF is actually next-gen firewall, which can give you intelligent threat detection and as well as this particular filtering as well. Okay. That's it. So domain 3 is clear, team. Domain 3 is clear, team. Any other doubts in this? Domain 3. So domain 3, if you want to pass the exam, focus 70% on VPC and everything based on that. So domain 3 is almost the, I think it is 26%, right? So 26% is your exam. So it's the most critical one. No. They are using different ones, but they don't reveal the names actually. Okay, see, in this is the 20%, but I say if you want to pass the exam, the exam person is saying focus 70% on this, sorry, on the VPC part. Okay, focus 70% on this VPC part if you want to pass the exam. Focus less than 5% for those organizations. Focus some 15% at least, 15-20% I say, 15% to 20% for this cloud front. And for WAF and Shield Trust, this is the best way to pass the exam in this domain. Clear, team? Just we have 2 more domains and we'll finish. Yeah, but the basic solutions architect course, Nikhil, we will study VPC in a basic level. But still, in this thing, you learn a lot more in this. Even we have a specialist certification for this VPC, AWS Security Specialty. No, sorry, networking specialty. So take a screenshot of this team if you want. And finally, and the second last one, just we will finish it fast. Identity access management. This domain, I will say, this is the most priority domain if you want to work. I think one person asked me just now, which is the most priority domain. So I think it is, who has this? Yeah, Aditya has this. Yeah, Aditya and Abdullah has this, I think. Yeah. Team, if you want to work in AWS, learn this domain. This domain is only you have to learn as a start. This domain is not easy as you think. It's very complicated, but still you have to learn a lot of JSON and all, but still not much you have to learn, but just basics. This domain is very critical. And this particular, as a security person, I will say, learn this topic in depth. See, the permissions is the first key factor, right? So make sure you learn this identity access management service in depth. It's not very easy. You have to, it must address the authentication, authorization, accountability. So learn the service in depth very much. Don't miss each and any point. Don't think that, okay, in the exam it is just 20%, but that is not like that. Understand, I'll just tell you what are the things you have to learn in that class actually. Understand IAM policies, then understand IAM rules. Most critical one, cross account access. If you have multiple accounts, how? Yeah, we have to learn a lot more. We have to go for cross account management. For example, I taught you AWS organization, right? So the AWS organization, you must know how to manage identities. And you must know the types of policies, a lot of things like that. Then you have to learn. It's not complicated, but still it's you have to learn it at least. That's enough. That's enough for this. But still, one more thing, just one more thing. Learn Active Directory, okay? Learn, if your company is using Active, learn Active Directory, okay? Learn directory service in AWS. Active Directory, I'll say. Learn this, learn the service in depth. But that is very easy. Learn this, okay? So focus, if you want to work in AWS, focus 50% of the skills on IAM. That's what I say. Okay, Abdul? That's what I'm saying. Focus 50% of your skills on IAM if you want to work on AWS security first. Okay? Then this is very easy service. Just to know how to set up directories, AWS directory or cloud, Active Directory in cloud. That's all. Just learn the service. Then the next thing you have to learn is directory service is done. You know how to manage the directory service and all. IAM policy you learned. Then yeah, you must know how to centrally manage this one. This policies itself you have to focus on some. I told you 50% you have to focus on this, right? 50 or more than that, I'll say. 50% of the exam you have to focus on this. So in this 50%, focus 40% on this roles and policies. Okay. Focus 40% on roles and policies. That's enough. Then that's enough. Then you can learn the concept called as just understand the concept of federation. What is federation? Then you can learn the other, like that's enough. Across the single sign-on federation, those kind of things learn. That is enough for you in this exam. And one more thing, learn ACLs. That's it. First thing. And finally, and I told you team, this is the first domain you have to focus on, not for the exam, but for the job perspective. For the exam, see, basically I see a lot of people play when you train this, they'll just say make it 1 or 2 hours. But this domain itself will take me almost some 20%, 30% of the course actually. That's why this is very critical. That's why. Learn this domain in depth. So the next one is the last domain, which is domain 4, and then domain 5, which we say. Just let me open that. What is it? Yeah. So the domain 5 is very easy. Domain 5 means how you manage the data in your cloud, or how you can protect the data in your cloud. This domain is very, very critical. I think most people are aware of this concept, but still I'll explain the basics. Just a second. Sanjay, I'm so sorry. I just deleted. So sorry for that. No problem. I just give you in a text personal message. No problem. Sorry for that. I thought you took the picture. So in this domain, areas to focus, I will say. I have seen in a lot of interviews, these areas are asked. This areas are asked. The first and the most critical one you have to learn this is KMS, Key Management Service. So why the service is important, I'll tell you. For example, I told you the best way to make your data to protect on cloud is actually to do encryption, right? Encryption is the best way to protect data on cloud. So for encryption, what are the things you have? You have an encryption engine. You have an encryption mechanism, or we call it as encryption engine, we will say. Then we have an encryption key. Then we have your data. So you are encrypting this data with the help of this encryption engine or encryption algorithm. Okay, so you'll get a key, right? So this only with you, if you have this key, you'll be able to decrypt this data. For example, if I say, if you lose this encryption engine or if you lose your encrypted data, it's okay. But if you lose your key, you are 100% done. So make sure your key is securely managed as per the as per the standards. Standards is very critical. As per the standards, for different standards, you have to know how you have to manage the keys. I say that this service, I feel like I can study for at least, or I can learn and work for almost more than 10 days or more than that much critical. This is learn KMS. KMS is the best way you can pass the questions in this domain 5. Learn KMS. How we can encrypt the storage in AWS Cloud and how we can store the data in KMS, advantage of KMS, how we can use KMS for storage, S3 buckets, etc. Learn KMS. And learn Macie as well here. We already discussed that Macie as well here. KMS is something you have to learn always. It's not a single day you can learn. Then KMS is done. Then you have to learn. KMS is the key part of this, okay? Every other thing is just an add-on. KMS is key part. And know how to protect your logs and all. See, You know how to manage your log files, right? You know CloudTrail is there, CloudWatch is there to manage your log files and all. But you must make sure that the log files is not tampered. See, basically when an attacker do an attack, what he does is he will does the attack and he will remove the log files. It can be internal user or external user. So know how to protect your logs. That's the first thing you have to learn in this topic. And that is most used question for the interviews as well. How to protect your thing. Learn this encryption concept very well. Then learn, that's enough. And learn the certificate manager. What is certificate manager? So certificate manager means a service which helps you to provide SSL certificate. Okay. So this is for the data in transit. So learn AWS Certificate Manager. This can give you a lot of information about how to create a certificate, how to securely manage certificate. And you must know how to configure elastic load balancing in AWS securely. Secure load balancing, let's say. And learn the encryption practices used by the other services. That's it. So that's it. And nowadays they have also added a topic which is called as container security. That is very important, very easy as well, not tough. Container security also you have to just understand the concepts. Don't have to work on it, but still container security learn. That's it. Learn that. That's enough for it. See, once you do, and one main service I missed, we call it as HSM. Sorry, I'll just write in the last actually. Yeah. Cloud HSM. It's a hardware security module. It's a hardware device which helps you to store your data or key files in backend. No, there's no specific service for that. We have to configure that, Roshan, actually. The service name is ECS and EKS. So, team, that's it. These are the things you have to do for passing the exam. But still, one more thing, you have just take a picture of this if you want. And one more thing I will tell you, for passing the exam, it's not about simply learning or going through the topics. Learn each and every topic in depth. And I know some people in this want to build a career on the security, AWS security. If you want to build it like that, those topics I tell you is critical. Please go in depth. See the use cases of each and everything. What all things is happening in the real time. What the companies are doing. What all risks are there. Yeah, go on, Roshan. No problem. Tell me, Roshan. No problem. No, you don't have to be having any programming. Even I also don't have any programming background. Exactly, job. That's what I think. But programming background is not mandatory for you to work in AWS. But still, see, I know. Just I'll tell you something. Just wait. I'll give you an example here. Let me show you one of my files. I think if I show this file to you, you will stop. You will stop. You will say that I don't want to learn AWS. Just wait. So you have to learn policies like this. How to write this. Yeah, I'll tell you about that, Abdul. No problem. I'll tell you about that. See, from this policy, now if you see, okay, you will think that, okay, you have to learn coding for that. Keep my word. You don't have to learn a single piece of code if you want to write this thing. Why? Because I know when I show this to people, see that, okay, this code you have to learn, right? So you want to learn JSON. No, you don't have to learn anything. This code and everything is ready as a template in AWS documentation. Just copy it. Learn how this is organized and replace the things you want. That's enough. And that is very easy. I don't want people to get so complicated and so confused, but they must be able to manage. So don't worry, it's very easy. Okay, you can do it, no problem. You don't have to have a programming background. Even I don't also have a programming background for the last 15 years. Okay, so that's it. So team, for exam perspective, it's not like you pass the exam. For exam perspective, you don't have to go through all of this in depth. But in the job perspective, if you want to build a career on this, focus a lot, do a lot of things which we discussed. especially this identity access management, KMS, monitoring and logging, those kind of things, learn in depth. The first thing. Then understand the use cases, why this is required. When somebody tell you this is how it works, don't take it like that. Understand why it is for a company, what are the requirements, how we can implement it securely. For example, if I say I am installing a server, I'm deploying something, how to do it in a secure way. That's what you have to focus on. You have to see security in everything. So that is what we call as this. That's how you can pass the exam and you can get a job in AWS. Okay. And Abdul, you have query. Yeah, I have a batch starting in this the security. You can just ping me personally, or you can like contact InfosecTrain as well. Team, I just do one thing. I'll share my contact information in the chat box. If you want, you can just collect it. That's my WhatsApp number as well. I hope you got it. If you don't get it, please tell me, okay? This is my contact info. If you want, you can contact me as well. No problem. See, if you have any doubts, feel free to contact me in WhatsApp as well. I'm happy to help you with that. It's not like you join a course with me or something. Okay. It's not like you join a course with me or something. It's okay. You can join a course or not. It's okay. That's nothing which I'm seeing. If you have any concerns or any queries regarding this AWS, you can just ping me. Okay. I'm happy to have a network. So, yeah, I already shared, Ahmed. Okay, I'll just share it to you personally one second. Just a second. Just a second, team. Don't leave. Just please wait. Don't leave now. Just wait. I just have one more formality. Please wait. A request not to leave. See, LinkedIn profile I'll just share as well. No problem. Just give me a second. You can search for Krishnan only. I'll just search it like this. LinkedIn. Insert Krishnan. You can search it like this. It will work, I think. And one more thing is there, team. You can search LinkedIn as well. Just a second. Just share it to everyone. Yeah. That's it. You can just search it if you want. And one more thing, team, and I suggest you fill a feedback form as well. Please fill a feedback form of the session. I just want to make sure it is informative to you, my team. So make sure to please fill this form as well. Please fill this form as well before you leave. Okay, don't forget. Please fill this form. If you have any trouble in this, please tell me. Please fill this form. Okay, that's it. I hope you had any you got some interesting information. If you feel like if you want to have any more things from me, you can just give me a call. Nothing like I'm starting a batch of lesson this December. I'm starting a batch, but it's okay. It's a weekend batch actually, but still, no. Then you can Roshni can ping me on that personally. No problem on that. I can ping me on personally. You got my number, right? I got a lot of requirements from a lot of students in this personally as well for their project purposes. It's okay. You can ping me on WhatsApp or Telegram. I'm there. I'm happy to help. I'm there for you. And thank you for the support. Okay. Please fill this form as well. Okay. And any other queries you have other than this? Any other queries you have? Any queries you have, team? Any queries you have? If you have any queries, please tell me. Okay. Yeah, yes, Ashwin. Yeah, I can help you with that.